Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the ANG Cast, the podcast where we talk about video games and everything else in between. We are here for Game of the Year 2024. That's right. Cheap sound effects played off my phone. You know how we do this fucking shit around here. I'm once again joined by three of my best buddies. We've got Alex from Swirly Games. You know him, you love him from, shit, tons of stuff we've done. How you doing today, Alex?
At this point, I'm doing great. I'm ready to talk about some good games.
And then we got Aaron from shit I've done on the channel in the past as well. How's it going, Aaron?
Dude, doing great. Ready to talk about some good games.
And then, of course, what would ANG be without the guy who helped me start it all off with our very first series, Sunset and Stardew? We got Buddy Ben. How's it going, Ben?
Amazing. I'm doing great, buddy. I'm ready to talk about some good games.
All right, so let's kick this shit off. Let's just dive right into it. So for those of you who don't know, last year we adopted the remap radio way of doing things, where we'll say a game, and then if it's higher up on someone else's list, then we wait until it gets to them on their list to let them talk about it more, because obviously they liked it more. But Alex and I have bigger lists this year, so we're going to kick it off by doing my 20 through 11 games. Is that what we said? And then Alex is going to do the same, I think?
Yep. And then if anybody has
A game higher
that is said, just hold us off, and then we'll come back to it later.
Okay.
We'll rattle off our other ones.
All right, so I'm gonna go through. I'm gonna fucking speed run my 20 through 11. So overall, I don't know about you guys. I feel like 2024 it ended up being a better year than I thought it was going to be for games, but definitely not as good as 2023, which was kind of unprecedented in a way. It was like ended up being one of my favorite years in gaming, like overall.
Sure.
If I really wanted to, I could have made a top 30 this year, but I was telling Alex before we started recording that a lot of it would have just been me like, hey, there's this game I played for like an hour and I don't really have an opinion on it, but I'm doing this to make a list. So I some of these games I've played like a lot more than others, but I feel pretty confident about my top 20 this year. So number 20, we have NBA 2K25. Obviously none of you guys played this, so I'll just go over it really quick. I have not played one of these and
Ben did. Hey, wait, Ben did? I think it might be on Ben's list.
Ben's number one.
Man, what a fun time we have here.
So I have not played one of these in a few years, and so it's like it's new to me, like features that have probably been in the last couple. So like I'm sure actual NBA 2K fans are probably like, man, this game sucks, and I'm like, no, actually, like it's way better than the last one I played a few years ago. The shooting feels really good, probably graphically like the best sports game graphics I've ever seen. Hell of a time to be a Cavs fan right now too, with how well they're doing. Alex knows what I'm talking about with that. But yeah, so NBA 2K25 is 20. Number 19 is Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival. So Ben might be the only one in this call that doesn't know. I got a taiko drum this year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they finally because I've been wanting to import one from Japan for years, but they're hella expensive, especially the shipping to do that. But I can't remember the name of the company that makes it. It's like Hori, I think, is the
So like a taiko controller?
yeah, like that. Yeah, like taiko drum controller. Yeah, like not an actual taiko drum.
What a fucking taiko drum! I was like, that's fucking sick.
No, that'd be fucking dope.
That's like, why have I not heard of this? Why has no one said anything to me about this?
Yeah.
Major life change.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Some guy in the group.
it's a game that I've been wanting to play like on the actual drum controller for a long time. I've only ever played with the controller buttons, which is just not the ideal way to play this at all. The only reason it's so low on my list is it seems like there's a little bit of a latency issue. Like I can't quite get the what do you call it? The calibration dialed in quite the way I want to. But I do like that it's compatible with the new PS5 game and the old PS4 game that I've played more of just using the controller. So I'm excited to go back and play that one like the proper way. But overall, I'm happy to have one of them. It's a lot louder than I expected it to be, I guess. Like I didn't expect it to be louder than like Rock Band drums, but it definitely is. But yeah, I'm happy to finally have one. And I can't wait to play more of it. Number 18 is Pokemon TCG Pocket. Anybody have that higher on their list?
Oh, I didn't even think about putting that on my list,
No.
but I mean, technically yes, because 20. Never mind. Go for it.
So yeah, I think Alex is the only one of us that hasn't been. I think Alex is the only one of us that hasn't played any of this game this year, but really fun game. I don't feel comfortable putting it any higher than that, just because I feel like I've had more fun collecting the cards than I've had like dueling real people on there. But I have played a lot of the solo battles. Just the cards look fucking awesome, and it is fun doing battles even against the computer. And I like that they simplified it for people like me that could never actually probably play the real fucking game, because I remember it just being complicated. And then number 17. So this is a weird year for me. I actually have 3 mobile games on my list for the first time ever. Like, one of them is technically multi-platform, but these 2 here are just mobile only. So number 17 is NFL Retro Bowl 25. This is the one that I've been telling Alex all year he needs to play because it's on Apple Arcade. Just a really cool old school style touchscreen football game. Not much more to
You
say
wanna hear
about it than
something
that.
funny about that?
Yeah, what's up?
The kids
That's Ben's
love
number
playing
1.
Retro Bowl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they'll go to like unblocked sites and play Retro Bowl. That's
Oh,
what
shit.
a lot of my students used to play.
Oh, that
Yeah,
rules.
It's just Tecmo Bowl for like the NES.
Yeah,
And
so
it rules. Like it's cool. I always look at it and be like, "This is what you want to play?" And it's like, okay. I played that game when I was like 5 or whatever.
So the reason why I gravitated towards this one is they actually took use of the touch controls, like you click and drag to like aim your passes and stuff. And so, like, I feel like in other Tecmo Bowl games and like old retro style games, it's just like you just push buttons like on a controller to make it work. But this one, you actually like get back in the pocket as a quarterback and like draw a line where you want the pass to go and all that stuff. So I've played through 10 seasons of that on my phone this year, and so I was like, well, this needs to go on my list for sure because I've had a lot of fun with that. And then speaking of football, number 16, EA Sports College Football 25. Alex, is that higher on your list than 16?
It is, but it's not in my top 10, so just go for it.
Okay, we finally got a new college football game after like what 12 years, I think, or like or how many?
14 was the 14 was the last.
So 10 years, I
Yeah.
guess. They pretty much did as good of a job as they could have with it. I mean, after I think they could have put out like a flaming piece of garbage and people still would have been happy with it just because of how long it's been. But they nailed it. I'm really happy they got all the official licensed music and the teams and stadiums and everything. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to say about it.
Yeah, I can bring up mine real quick. I didn't touch the Ultimate Team because I was like, I have no interest in that.
Yeah, no,
Madden, but
same
also
here.
football.
Yep.
I made Swirly State and I made my friends as the players, and that's always super fun. And I didn't even finish the season, but I won't ever buy another College Football 25, but I will play this probably every year because I just wanted that one. I just needed to come back one time, and I'm good. So it's awesome that it came back. I like it.
Yep, I also created Adjutant Gaming University in mine and played through a couple seasons with that, which was really fun.
Hell yeah.
Number 15, a game that I definitely wish I played more of this year is Nintendo World Championships. I don't think anybody else has that on their list, right?
I forgot that came out.
So one of the coolest collector's editions of the year for sure. Every time I played that game, it would just make me really fucking mad. Like, cause it's just these, for those of you who don't know, it's just these short, like speed run levels of old, like NES games. And the collector's edition is really cool. It's like a golden cartridge, like a golden NES cartridge, and comes with some really cool collector stuff. I really need to play more of that. I just have not been interested in playing my Switch this year, like much at all. Just because I have the PlayStation Portal now, I have the Steam Deck. They are just faster, more superior machines to the Switch. Like the Switch just feels so.
Man.
Yeah, it's just there's games on the Switch that I know I should play. Like I just went and bought the new Mario Party because I know Alex wants to play it with me, but that'll be the first time I've touched my Switch in months to play that. All right, so I'll move on. I'm gonna try to keep moving here. 14 is a game I literally just finished today, but I've been chipping away at it for like a week or so. Caravan Sandwich is my 14, which is really funny because every time you try to say it, it always comes out as sandwich, but it's Sandwich, WITCH.
Right.
Ben, have you heard about this game at all? I think.
Yeah.
So the best way I could explain this game to not go into a long fucking diatribe about it is basically just an exploration game. There's no fighting in it. There's no combat whatsoever. There's no health bars. There's no fall damage. There's nothing. And you just wander around and you're in a van, as the name implies. And you play this girl who's been looking for her father and her sister. And you literally just like talk to people that live in the town that remember you from back in the day. And you run around and it's got sci-fi elements to it. You collect like spare parts and components to upgrade your van. Eventually you get like a grapple hook that helps you tear down doors to get to new areas. You have like a radar ping system that you get. The reason why it's not higher on my list, I thought for sure, I was like, man, like this game's like getting really good. Like this is going to be higher than 14 for sure. But then I got to the ending today and it was like super anticlimactic. Like it had been building, like I put 11 hours into it. And it had been building and building and building, and then it just kind of ended, and it was really weird. And then I thought about going back and getting the platinum, which would actually be pretty easy, but then I realized that I missed one side quest in the playthrough and I'd have to play through the game again. And I was like, no, I'm good. But really good art style, really good soundtrack, really charming game. I definitely recommend it. It was only $15 whenever I got it on sale. It's definitely worth that. I mean, 11 hours, that's pretty good for an indie game.
Yeah.
Number 13, Mini Shoot Adventures, a game that I played on my Steam Deck this year, which is like a Zelda game, but if you were in a twin stick shooter with a spaceship. I normally am not a big fan of like, top down Zelda games, or I guess just Zelda games in general, but it turns out when you are flying around as a spaceship, like in a twin stick shooter style game, it really appeals to me. I played through all of that game except for the end. I played it early on whenever it came out, and there was some kind of glitch that kept me from finishing up the end of the game, so I need to go back and do that. Really satisfying game. Definitely recommend it to everybody. Really great handheld game. I played all of it on the Steam Deck, and it plays like exceptionally well on there. So there's that one, and then number 12 will be the first game I think I've had in common with someone on here. Is Thank Goodness You're Here. Did that make it to your list, Alex? I know you didn't play much of it on stream, but did it make your list?
Not my top 10, no. So go
Okay.
for it.
So yeah, number 12. So this game is the most British game I've ever played in my entire life. It's another game where there's no combat or anything like that. You just walk around. It's like a very light platformer, really light puzzles. Really, like if you're into really dry, like Ricky Gervais Office or Monty Python humor, that's the kind of humor that game goes for. Really cool art style, good soundtrack, really funny, made me laugh a lot. Whenever we do the Swirly Awards later this year, I nominated one of the trophies for our best trophy award. And one of the trophies is you just smack this guy's ass, and it's like hanging out of like a food truck that he's working in, and you just smack his ass and you get a trophy. And so it's like obviously game of the year right there.
Oh yeah.
So that's number 12. And the number 11, which is obviously I'll cut it off after here, but Fear the Spotlight is my number 11. I just played through that last week, actually. If you guys don't know, it's the first Blumhouse game. They announced at the Game Awards either last year or the year before, one of those Keeley streams, that Blumhouse Games was getting into, or Blumhouse Film Studios? Studios, yeah. So they call it Blumhouse Games now. But yeah, so Blumhouse is really famous for making some really good horror movies, and they're making games now. And this is the first one of those. Only took me 3 hours to get through the game, and then minor spoiler. Do you guys care about spoilers for this game at all? Because this is game of the year. I feel like spoilers are up for it unless you guys like explicitly say like don't spoil stuff. You guys,
I'm fine with it.
okay? So
mute you for 45 seconds. Go for it.
Okay. So when I got to the end of the game, I thought that it was going to be over after 3 hours because it was also a cheap, like $15 game. And I was like, okay, well, like if this is all I got out of this game, like 3 hours, that's fine. But then it kind of like sets you up in the end to think that there's like more to the game. And then when you back out to the main menu, it gives you the option to play through the game as the other character, to see it from the other character's point of view. And so I'm going to do that eventually. But I mean, it's 11 on my list, having just played that first character's part of the story.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I had finished that other part, then maybe it would have ranked even higher. But yeah, really solid outing from them for it being their first foray into video games. Really charming indie game. Had some genuinely creepy stuff in it. Nothing too scary. Yeah, I mean, you can't ask for much more. Like one of my favorite horror movie studios is making video games, and they like knocked it out of their park with their first one. So can't ask for more than that. So there's a lot of horror games out there, but there's not a lot of like really exceptional ones. And I guess I wouldn't put this up there with like the best of the best, but it's always like I get excited for good new horror movies because there's so many bad ones, and it's like, oh, I finally found like a good one of these, especially since it's like a PS1 style like retro horror game as well. And that's it. That is my 20 through 11.
All right. Well, a couple of my 20 through 11 got mentioned already, so this will be quick. My number 20. So 20 through 16, for reference, I played exactly one time to put where my thoughts are for these ones. 20 is Chained Together, that game that was pretty popular on Twitch earlier this year, where it's basically, what's that game? Only Up or whatever?
Only Up,
yeah.
Co-op and you're chained together. I played it for like 55 minutes with my buddy Austin, and it was fun. We got some laughs, and then we got like really high at one point, and then fell all the way to the bottom. And we're like, all right, that's Chained Together. I think I'm done. But it was pretty cool. 19, we talked about Thank Goodness You're Here. I played it on stream. I think I shouldn't have played it on stream. Like I don't do well with anything puzzly and streaming at the same time, I was kind of like, I don't know where the hell I'm going. Like I was immediately confused.
And also
So
playing comedy games, like feeling the pressure to laugh at it as well. Like I can understand that on stream too. Cause I feel like I oversold it to you a little bit. Like, and I think people online were like, this is one of the funniest games ever made. And it's like, I don't even know if I'd go that far, but it just tickled me. Like it's the most a game made me laugh this year, which I didn't play like comedy games this year on purpose, but
yeah, it's a very unique game, and I'm glad I played it. And
yeah,
I own it now, so maybe I'll come back to it one day.
and it's short too.
Right. 18, another game I think I shouldn't have played on stream because it's a lot to pick up in the first hour, was Pacific Drive, that driving game. It's like kind of like a roguelike survival like type game. Very cool concept. I really like the look of it. The UI was just like a lot at first. Where I was like, what the hell am I looking at? But I could see that being a game, if you just give it a couple hours, it would be awesome. So I bet that'd be one that would be higher if I played it more. 17.
Yeah, I want to play it someday. It looked really cool.
Yeah, and it was on sale. I don't know if they still have like Black Friday deals going on, but I got it for like $15 on PlayStation
nice.
Store. So that was nice too. 17, we played together, Josh, on stream that one night. Harry Potter Quidditch.
Yeah.
I know we wanted a Quidditch mode in Hogwarts Legacy, and they didn't put that in there because they were making this, and it was a surprisingly like deep Quidditch game. Like it felt almost like Rocket League in some ways, with like the season pass and upgrading your stuff, and all the different roles on a Quidditch team have like very specific like button layouts and stuff like that, and you like have to bounce back and forth. It was kind of a lot, but it was kind of cool, and I could just see being like getting super addicted to Quidditch and being like, I'm like a top 100 player in the world at Harry Potter Quidditch. And
It was like a more complicated Rocket League, and it wasn't great because that night wasn't a great night anyway because I couldn't get my fucking camera to work on my PlayStation. So it was just like a microphone only stream trying to figure out this new Quidditch game together.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously I'm not trying to interrupt you. I would have rather had an offline Quidditch mode in Hogwarts, like where you could play against the computer.
Sure.
Like playing against people that were already somehow extremely fucking good at this game on day one was definitely not the way to experience it.
Yeah. My number 16 is a game I want to play more of and was very, very unique. I also played this with my friend Austin. Content warning, where you are, it feels like in the vein of like a Lethal Company, where you are a group of guys going into like a scary situation. You're basically creating like a found footage, like horror movie, and you're trying, like, you go in with a camera and a microphone. That's all you have at first. And it feels like a game that would do better to have more people, because you eventually get like a boom mic or a light and stuff. You're just trying to catch these like fucked up looking, like bad graphics monsters on camera. And when you're done, you go back and watch the film you made, and you could save the footage. So I have like the 8 videos that Austin and I made, and they are hilariously stupid. So when I do my game of the year videos later, I'm going to put one of them in there. It's a super fun, unique game, but I really think it would do better with more than 2 people.
No, this seems like a game for Aaron and Josh for sure.
Oh my
Like,
god, you would love it.
They would love that game, and I feel like it would be a fun game to like a bunch of people play, because it just everybody would like eventually get into their roles. I've seen a lot of that game get played.
Guy.
Yeah, I'm the boom mic guy, or like, you know, I'm gonna be the guy who just wanders off into the darkness. Or everybody else for this,
I'll be the bait.
I'm gonna interrupt shots like that. Like, yeah,
right.
I don't know, Josh, have you seen any of that game?
I don't think so. I feel, I was gonna say, Alex, I feel like you mentioned it like one time and it just like slipped my mind and I forgot about it. Is it Steam only or is it on consoles?
I think it's only PC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what it looks like here.
Yeah, it's super cool. And
okay.
Like, it doesn't seem like too complex of a game as far as like your computer being able to run it. Like, it
yeah,
would be able to work.
yeah.
So it's worth checking out.
And they put it out for free for like 24 hours. That's how it became viral.
Oh,
And then I
okay.
think they dropped it to like $8. Yeah, it was like free for a day. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
All right, I'll go add this to my Steam wish list so that I don't forget about it.
Yeah, it rules. 15 is MLB The Show 24. So we're now into the games I've played more than once. And MLB The Show was fun because it's baseball, and I love baseball, and like the core gameplay of those games are always fun. But this was by far, I've been playing this game since MLB 17. This was the worst Diamond Dynasty, like the card mode, that they've ever done.
Yep.
It was hot garbage trash. They made it so that your cards that you get are basically only good for 3 months, and they'd start a new season, and you had to get all new cards again. So I played for like 100 hours, and then June hit, and they're like, all right, sweet. You can't use any of these anymore if you want to do like the new content. And I was like, all right, I'm out.
Yep.
Everyone fucking hated it, and they have already said, they haven't said anything about MLB 25, they have said that sets and seasons are not returning. So
Yeah.
there's hope for 25, but it was a huge disappointment.
So, fun fact, I got my Xbox year in review yesterday, and that was my top played game of 2024, and I really only played like 50 hours of it, I think.
Yeah.
And then my
Which
number
sounds like a lot, but for those games, it's really not.
my number 2 was Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and then 3 was Rock Band 4. Those are my top 3
Oh my
most played
God.
games on my Xbox for this year.
That's amazing.
But anyway, yeah.
I think these two games, I think we'll finally run into stuff that's on other people's lists. Aaron, I know this is on your list. My number 14 is Stellar
boy.
Blade.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's on mine.
Okay, yep. Yeah, we'll come back. To
can
be
wait
fair,
for that one.
I really liked it, just didn't play it as much as I wanted to. That's why it's so
Yeah.
low. But my 13 was Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom.
Oh, nice.
Is
Yeah,
that
I didn't play
anybody's
that one.
higher?
It's not. I didn't get a chance to play it.
Oh, okay.
It looked good though.
I think it's one of those games that like the first, from what I've heard, the first like 8 hours are like pretty good, and then it really opens up and gets good. And I fell off after like 6 hours because it came out right when Tiff and I went to California for like 10 days, and I started it and then came back in like a typical Zelda game. I'm like, where am I going? Where do I go now? I don't know what I'm doing. But I know I'll pick that up. Like whenever the next Zelda game gets announced, I'll be like, well, I got to finish Echoes of Wisdom, and then I'll play it. And it's going to be awesome. I know it, but I just fell off pretty quickly. 12, College Football 25. We already talked about that. And my number 11 was The Plucky Squire. Anybody? I know, Josh, you played this.
I played it for about an hour and a half and then fell off of it really fucking hard.
Yeah.
Plenty of, like, I don't even want to rant about it, but like, I'm glad it was a PlayStation Plus game. I'm glad I did not spend money on it, but definitely one of my biggest bummers of the year because that trailer got me so interested in that game.
It's one of those games where that studio, I don't know if it was their first game or not, but if they take another crack at this, they could make it so much better.
Yeah.
You're basically playing in a storybook, and it's like a 2D puzzle game where you're like grabbing words. It'll be like, oh, the giant frog is blocking the road, and you'll go over to the other side, and it'll be like, there's a small treasure chest, and you can switch some of the words. You can take small out of the right sentence and put it over where the big frog is, and it becomes a small frog is in the road, so now you can get past it. Or if you take it over to the treasure chest, now it's a big treasure chest, and you get something out of it. Like all that stuff is so good, and then you pop out of the book, and it becomes like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids style. Like you're really small on like a kid's desk where everything's huge. And it kind of reminded me of like It Takes Two in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the problem was you'll walk for 5 steps and they'll talk to you for like 30 pages of dialogue, and they're trying to be funny and it's really not funny.
Yeah.
And like it's just the pacing is just atrocious because of that. But I really liked the gameplay, and it was short enough that I was able to beat it. I think I just played it all day one Saturday.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to finish this thing. And it was really cool, but oh man, it really got in its own way.
The two big things for me was the constant spamming of text, and then I really don't like forced stealth sequences in games, and that one had a couple like immediately in that first hour and a half, and I was like, no, I'm good. Yeah. All right, so now are we circling back around to me to do my 10 now, and then we go around the room? Like, is that how we're?
You just do your number 10.
I'll do my number 10. Okay.
Your 10, and if anybody has it 9 or higher.
Okay.
Say it's higher, and then we'll move on to, I think I'll be next then.
Yours, yep.
Okay. Yep. All right. So my number 10, I don't think anybody else played, is Court Keeper. Anybody else play this one this year? Ben Ben was the only one that would have played this. You know what game this is, though, don't you?
Me?
Yeah. Do you know what Court Keeper is? Oh, okay. Yeah. So basically, boiled down really simple. It's like Terraria, Minecraft style game. Really scratched that itch for me this year. I've played it. I played it for like 4 hours on Game Pass, and I liked it so much that I was like, I want to play this handheld. So I went and bought it on PlayStation, and now I've put like 10 more hours into it on PlayStation. The only thing about it is the progression is really slow. Like you literally just dig and dig and dig and, build stuff, upgrade stuff. And out of that, like 15 hours that I've played, I've only found 2 bosses and defeated them. And then there's like these crystal things you have to find. So I don't know exactly how much more time I have to put into it to like, quote unquote, finish it, but it's just an extremely good podcast game, really good game on the Portal, really good soundtrack, which again, I'm going to keep hyping up the Swirly Awards that we're doing here at the end of December. It's definitely on my best soundtracks of the year list. Ben, I think you'd really like it. It would be a really good Steam Deck game for you sometime to play, because I know that these kinds of games also appeal to you as well.
Yeah, we should try it on Game Pass sometime.
Oh, yeah.
On Game Pass, and I have Game Pass, I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, it's great. I really like it.
I feel like 2024 was like, oh yeah, that game sounds sweet, and then I just didn't play them.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so that was my number 10.
My number 10 is Super Mario Party Jamboree. Anybody have this one higher?
Yeah, just got it yesterday, so I'll play it with you guys for the first time on whatever stream we do that next for you.
Hell yeah. It is a really, really good Mario Party. So this is the third Switch Mario Party. The first one, Super Mario Party, sucked. I did not like it very much. It's all Mario parties are baseline fun. It's kind of like what Dan Reichert says. Like when you're playing it with your buddies, they're all good, but compared to the other ones, it was just not very good. But Super Mario Party Jamboree brings back motion controls in some of the games. The new boards are really fun. Like there's like an F1 track basically. That's when we played on my Extra Life, where you can go like really really fast around the track, and there's two set spots that are the stars that swap back and forth. There's a shopping mall level where you collect these stamps for like discounts on items. You could buy like cheaper stars if you have enough coupons and stuff like that. Really, really cool game. Got it's like over 150 mini games. I have not played the like 8-player Bowser battle mode. I have no idea what that is. I think you need like 8 people. I don't even know if you can play it with randoms, which is just a classic Nintendo. Like, yeah, you and 7 of your friends are going to buy this game, and then you can play it. Um, but there's a Coupathlon mode where you're just like rapid fire playing these mini games where you get a bunch of coins, and the more coins you get, it's how quickly your character moves around the board.
Coupathlon. I love it.
Yeah, it's the dumbest name, but you can get like items in your game, but I can get like the blooper and like ink somebody else's screen so they can't see what's going on, and it's really really fun. I played that with Austin a bunch, and it's a good time.
Can't wait for you to ink me. That's for sure.
Oh hell yeah, all day.
So who's next? Do we decide who's next? Aaron, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next.
All right.
So I didn't play a bunch of 2024 games this year. I actually spent the majority of like the beginning and middle of this year trying to go back and playing backlogs of games, a bunch of stuff that I just never got a chance to play, but always wanted to. So I'm not going to talk about that very much, but I did want to since I don't have 10 games for 2024, just really quick, my favorite game that I played that maybe would have been my game of the year, just overall, but I just want to shout it out really quick, is the original Alan Wake. Had I played that back in 2010, whenever it came out, I literally probably would have just never, ever stopped talking about that game. And I'll leave it at that because it was a game that came out 14 years ago. If you want to hear anything about that, you can do a quick Google search.
Love that game.
All right, my number 10 is a little game called, it's an indie game. I don't even know if it's a game. That's why I put it at number 10. It's called Odata. It's a Steam game.
Nope, mine's higher. You can't talk about it.
Okay. I'll wait for you to talk about it.
Aaron, if you played it, can you spell it?
ODD. Oh, him?
Good call.
No, but keep going. You're doing great.
So, Odada, ODDADA, it's on Steam. I don't know if it's on anything else, but it's really more of a toy than like a game. There's no real like objective or anything, but it's a music maker. So it's like like you use these little toys, these little tools, these little things, and you combine them together over the course of like 8 little micro levels, and you create a little song out of it, and it's really fun.
Really cool.
Yeah, I have I like dabble every now and then with like something that makes music. Like I got one of those like teenage engineering little sequencers for Christmas one year, and every now and then I'll pick it up and make beats on it. Or like there was the Mario Paint emulator, like music maker emulator that came out a while ago on like the web that you can just go and find, and I played with that for a few days and made some songs on that. And it's just like I never want to get into like hardcore music production, but it is fun to like make little songs and just be like, oh, that sounds cool, or like tweak it this way, and that sounds neat.
Yeah.
And you can make little cassettes of your songs and share them with people and export them, and it's just cute. It was cute. I played the demo for it and I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And I don't know how much it is right now, but I think it was like $10. Yeah, it's $10.
Yeah.
And so it's just a cool little thing, and I had a lot of fun with it. But I didn't want to put
Yeah,
a higher
that sounds
because
rad.
it's not really a game, but it was dope. It was kind of cool. There's just a bunch of little gizmos, a bunch of little weird things.
Yeah.
Some of it makes a lot of sense, some of it makes no sense, but you're just like, okay, well, I'll just mess around with it, and if it sounds good, it sounds good.
The screenshots on Steam made me think of that Lego Builder game that came out.
Yep.
Like, it just looks exactly like that. Like art.
It looks all yep. It looks like that. It reminds me of playing with like wood blocks as a kid. Like everything has a very like painterly child's toy kind of look. If you ever played, there's this really old like point and click adventure game called Windowsill, and it was like one of the first Unity games online. I think it's WINDOSIL. Yeah, or SILL. Is like very like low poly, flat texture kind of just style, and I have an affinity for that, and so yeah.
All right,
Cool.
sounds good. So the game's called Oh Dada, so it's perfect for Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have so many things I'm going to say, but I'm going to wait till the stream's over.
All right, Josh, number 9.
Number 9 absolutely will be higher on Ben and Alex's list, so I'm not even going to mention it. Helldivers 2. That is my number 9.
Oh yeah.
We can wait on that one.
Nope. Alex, number 9.
Number 9. Literally made my list tonight, an hour before I came up here to talk to Josh. Lego Horizons Adventures.
Oh, nice.
I am the biggest Horizon mark. I fucking love both those games. And I think this is the perfect game. If you tried to play Horizon but couldn't get into it, play this one because it kind of is going through the story of the first game, but it's got that Lego charm and humor, and like everything with Horizon is like the perfect property for Lego because the machines are basically fucking metal Legos anyways. Like, it looks awesome. It's the best combat in a Lego game because you get all the different bows and weapons and explosives and like challenges to fight the enemies in certain ways. And the adventures are basically taking different plot elements of the first game as like they're basically like the worlds if you think about like the old like platformers type stuff. Like the first world is at the beginning of the first Horizon game, some cultists attack Aloy's home and like kidnap some people. And the first world is you playing out like saving them and getting them back and everything. And Ashley Birch and all the other voice actors from the game are in it, and they are amazing. They're so funny. I love Ashley. It's my favorite Lego game I've played in a while. Like, I've basically only played the Star Wars and the Harry Potter ones, but this is the funnest like to play because of the combat and stuff. It fucking rules. I highly recommend it.
Nice.
I think it's $60, but it's already starting to be on sale. That'll be a game that's like $20 one day. Oh my god, it's awesome.
It's been on my wish list because I love Lego games for the most part. And that was I'm glad you brought up the voice acting because that was going to be my only question about it was, is there actually talking in this Lego game? Because I know there weren't for a long time, and then they started kind of putting it in all of them.
Yeah, and it's genuinely funny. Like,
yeah, I think all of them have it now.
Okay.
Yeah, it rules.
That's awesome. Glad to hear that.
Aaron, you got any more NES games you want to talk about? Any more Apple II games from 45 years ago?
Nah, man. I'm here with 2024 games, and that's it.
Number 9 is Pong.
You got a number 9 or?
No, nope. I'm gonna string this out. I'm gonna make you wait for it. My number 9 is Pokemon TCG. I'm not gonna talk about this because Josh already did.
Heck yeah.
Right. It's solid. I'm looking forward to getting the trading added to it so I can trade cards with you guys and stuff.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing
trading, and I also want them to put more cards in it.
Yeah.
I'm at a point where I'm like really just getting the same ones over and over again.
Packs and Wonder Picks are fucking useless for me right now. I have like 4 more cards I need to complete my set.
I got a good Wonder Pick today. It felt real good.
Nice.
got a dragon. I've been trying to get it for a while.
And then his freaking Wonder Pick is just all basics.
All right, Ben, go ahead.
All right, my number 9, Fields of Mysteria.
Yeah, that's higher on mine.
Yeah,
that's higher on mine.
All right,
cool.
Josh, number 8.
Number 8. So this is shocking. It'll be shocking to you guys because of how much I talked this up at the beginning of the year, and it shocked me how low it ended up being on my list. Is Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth. When the year started out, when I first started playing this in January, I was convinced that I was like, this is an early front runner for my game of the year. Like, felt like one of the best.
Even said at one point, like, this is my game of the year right now.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe even like 6 months into the year, I felt the same way. Big common theme with me, and I don't know if Aaron kind of agrees with me on this. I don't know how Alex feels about it. This year was the year where I forced myself to play too many long ass RPGs, and I burnt myself out real hard. And it absolutely zero fault of any of the games that I'm going to talk about tonight. It's the fact that I decided I needed to play all these long ass RPGs this year. So the unfortunate thing that I did to myself was I stopped playing Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and switched to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is on my list and as you can tell is actually higher than Like a Dragon, which I again did not think that was going to happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that at the beginning of the year.
And
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
and so Like a Dragon, my biggest issue with it is I'm like 40 hours into it at this point. And at this point in my life now, I put like 60 or 70 hours I think into Rebirth, 90 hours into another RPG we're going to talk about later. And by the time I got back to Like a Dragon like a month ago, I was just so burnt out by the RPG thing. And I was at a point in the game where I had done the Dondoko Island thing, which is like they switch it up in the middle of that game. They're just like, hey, do you want to play Animal Crossing for a little bit? I was like, hell yeah, I do. And so you go to this island and you literally clean it up. Like you clean up trash and you get guests invited to the island and you try to like raise your reputation. Very similar to Animal Crossing. That's the one thing I will say about that game is it's very well done in like switching it up constantly. Like nothing ever sticks around long enough to be really stale until after you get past Dondoko Island. At that point, it felt like I was restarting the game in some ways. You are playing as like another character in the story. And I mean, it opens up like a whole other section of the world where you have to get even more collectibles, even more side quests. And a big thing I don't like in RPGs is when they don't tell you what level you need to be to do things. And I play all my games on easy. And so I felt intimidated in the sense like, well, if I don't level, like over level myself, I'm going to get to this fight and I'm going to get like frustrated. And so that was one of the RPGs where they just straight up didn't tell you how much, like how high of a level you need to be to fight a certain boss or something. But in short, still a very good RPG. I still very much intend on going back and finishing it at some point, and disappointed that it finished lower on my list than I thought it would. But I really do feel like games 7 through 1 on my list I liked better than Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which again, if you would have asked me in the first 6 months of this year, I would have said no. Um, but that's just where I feel comfortable like putting it, because if I had played the next 40 hours of the game, which I'm sure that I definitely will have to put into it to finish it, maybe my opinion would have changed. But that's just the way the cookie crumbled at the end of the year for me.
Yep.
It's my favorite saying that Josh says all the time.
I won't stop saying it. You can't make me.
Gotta crumble those cookies.
Alex, number 8.
My number 8. I don't think anybody else played this. Was the new WoW expansion, The War Within. Funny enough, I was looking at my 2022 list when the last expansion came out, and Dragonflight was also my 8 that year too. But War Within, I've talked about before. Tiff and I, this is the one game that like we played together. We've been huge fans. She's played since Classic or Vanilla. I have played since Lich King off and on. And the War Within is the first of, this is like unprecedented for a while. Like they've always only announced one expansion at a time, and it's like towards the end of the current expansion. They'll like before the last raid, they'll say what the next one is. They brought back Chris Metzen, who if you guys know anything about WoW, he was like the original like voice of Thrall. Like he was one of the OG dudes for like the narrative side of WoW, and they brought him back because they're like, we got to do something. And they announced what they're calling the World Soul Saga. So they announced 3 expansions at the same time, and the War Within is the basically part 1 of this overarching 3 expansion long story. That my prediction is this is somehow going to end like the current WoW at the end of it, and they'll come up with something else. Even if it's still called WoW, but it'll be like a whole refresh of the entire universe. But this first one, very cool villain, Zalatath, this like void elf woman who's like a super badass. There's only been one patch so far. The first raid was really, really cool. And this is the first time they've like made new content catered towards the much, much more casual side of things, like Tiff and I, where they added follower dungeons, so like the 5-man dungeons that have been in WoW since it came out. You can now do those with NPCs and still play through them. Like it's a good way to like learn the fights and the mechanics without some psycho yelling at you, because that's all the people in WoW want to do if you mess up. And a lot of it, like we just like questing and doing the storylines, and like almost every zone's quest line ends with doing the dungeon. Like that's the end of it. So we would just constantly do 98% of a story, not get to do the very end, and then move on to the next one. And they also added a thing of content called delves that are like small mini dungeons that you can also do either solo or up to, I think it's 4 players for those ones. And they changed like the gearing system, so like Tiff and I can get like mid-level raid gear by doing these things like just casually on our own, and it's like the casuals expansion, and somehow the hardcore people still also really like it, just because the more complicated systems that we don't really deal with are also pretty good. But It's my favorite expansion in the last like 3 or 4. I would say it's a really good one.
Nice. Glad to hear that. If I was gonna go back and play a game like that at this point, it would just be Diablo 4, I think.
Oh yeah.
Because getting into WoW like as a brand new vanilla player at this point, like I'm sure
Mad.
I'm sure the onboarding, like I'm sure there's some way I could find it
A
to make
lot.
it not as rough, but I'm sure it'd still be a lot. But Alex and I were talking before stream. I do want to actually dive back into Diablo 4 at some point in the near future and see if they made it more friendly, like single player experience from where it was last year. But yeah, that's cool. Crazy that game's still going strong after all this time.
Dude, their 20th anniversary event is happening right now.
Wild.
It's crazy.
Fucking nuts. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. My number 8 is the New York Times game Strands. Ben, is this higher for your list?
Nope.
Yeah, that's because you should play it. I start most of my mornings off by playing Wordle and Connections, and I've just gotten to a point where like Strands is the one that I get the most excited for every single day. It's kind of like those games, and every once in a while you'll get like the prompt's just not good, or the word or whatever, kind of the answer just like isn't great. But it has a couple mechanics in it that just makes it a lot more approachable. There's like a hint system that you can use if you really get stuck. That doesn't like outright tell you the answer, but like at least guide you in a way to kind of move forward. And I've been super impressed with it. I think it came out in March, and like I said, it's the one that I typically play it second in the morning after I play Wordle, but really enjoy it every day.
Nice.
Do you happen to have the New York Times like subscription? Because I've actually thought about it, because there's actually a lot in that, and it's really not that expensive.
Yeah, I've thought about it a couple times, but I don't know, get to a point where I'd never pick it up.
Right.
I think if I was just sitting there playing like the backlog of those games all the time, I would just kind of wear myself out to the point where I wouldn't care about them anymore. I don't feel like they would like lose a little bit of the specialness, which is kind of weird because usually whenever you subscribe to something, like you get more of it because you want to play more of it.
Right.
That's cool though that you're into it that way. I mean, the closest thing I can relate to, since I don't play those anymore, that's how I feel whenever I play NFL Retro Bowl on my phone. Like that's the phone game that's got me the most like happy and excited this year. All right.
All right, go for it, Ben.
All right, number 8, Animal Well.
All right, I am going to go to the bathroom. I'll be back.
Is that higher for anybody?
No.
It is not.
Okay.
It was lower for me only because I played it the one time, and it also fell victim to the trying to stream this. I was like, what the hell am I doing?
Oh yeah, no, that's part of the reason why it's so low on mine. The moments in Animal Well make it like a top 3 game probably, like if it was just like the highs of that game. But for me, there are some real lows of just being like, I have no idea where to go. I'm like pixel hunting on the map, trying to figure out, is that like blank space an actual blank space because there's a wall there, or is it a blank space because I haven't gone there? Like because it tells you absolutely nothing.
Literally nothing.
There's no hints whatsoever. There are mechanics that my friends have found that I'm like, how did you know that? And like, even me dropping hints, I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And so, it's cool. It looks really neat. There's some really astounding just like visuals in that game, and there's some really astounding just like mechanics and like moments in that game. But as a cohesive like product, it just didn't hit for me as much as especially looking back on it. Like I have a negative, like almost a negative opinion looking back on it than I do probably as much as when I was playing it, because I put a good amount of time into it, and I remember really liking it. But as it wore on, it was just like, man, this is tough, and like I didn't get all the secrets in it or anything like that. But yeah,
it's one of those games. Like I've always been Metroidvanias really aren't my style for the most part, because I feel like more than any other game, I run into moments like that where I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Well, I found the next room I go into, I grabbed the thing in it, and now it's another dead end. Now what do I do? And it was one of those like listening to people talk about it, like on Giant Bomb and Fire Escape and stuff. It's one of those like it's almost annoying when it's not clicking with you, because they're just like, it's just so good, but like I can't tell you any reasons why. It just is.
Yeah,
I just gotta play it. And I'm like, I'm fucking trying to play it.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Like
it's a game that like for people, yeah, like that is like, oh, you could probably spoil this a little bit and maybe make it more intriguing, rather than be like, no, it's so good, just don't talk about it, because it's like, because the game doesn't talk about those things. Like, you can find them if you're lucky,
Right.
but and the reason it's on my top 10, like, there's some unique tools. Like, I'm thinking about some like the little gadgets and stuff, like a slinky in a Metroidvania to like solve puzzles is fun. But it's just like those things get overshadowed sometimes by just like I'm trying to make these pretty difficult jumps, maybe with an item I'm not supposed to like be using to make that, or like this mechanic just isn't going the way I want it to. Like, the execution, like, it was very, like, some of the platforming just wasn't as precise as it needed to be to try and do what you really wanted to do with it. And so, yeah, that's why it's my number 8. It was rough.
My experience with Animal Well was I downloaded it on PlayStation Plus because I heard the hype. Then I saw some of what the game actually was, and I deleted it without ever playing it. Because I was like, this is very much a game not for me. Not even close.
Yeah. You said something that I think clicked part of my problem with Metroidvanias, Ben, is when you are stuck, it's that impossible to know question of like, am I stuck because I can't figure it out? Or am I stuck because like I'm not supposed to go there yet?
Right.
That if you aren't picking up what it's like putting down, you just have no way of knowing that. And it's especially that game. I tried looking at a guide too, and like you can go anywhere. So like I had picked like a different spot, like I couldn't even find on the
yeah,
where
and that's the other thing too, is like I think I got the first item I got was completely different than like what I was listening to. Like, because everybody was like, oh, I got this one item first. Like, everybody seemed like they were getting, I don't remember what they got first. I think I got the yo-yo first and everybody else got the frisbee first or something like that. And I was like, I can't wait to get this frisbee, man. And I feel like I got that like third or fourth or something. I was like, what the hell's going on? When do I get this thing? And I was like, this is crazy. And like, in a way that makes it fascinating, but in another way it's like, bro, what the hell is going on?
Right. It's just got to be like that perfect storm where it just clicks so right for you. And the people that it did, it's like their favorite game ever made. But for reference, it was my number 22 out of 24 games. So I just really bounced off of it pretty hard.
All right, Josh, number 7.
This will definitely be higher up for Alex and maybe even Aaron. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yep.
Okay.
Wait.
Yeah, well, it's higher for Alex, so yeah, we'll move on. The only thing I will say right now, just before I forget, anyway, the reason why this ranked one spot higher than Infinite Wealth for me is based on the boss battles alone. Some of the best RPG boss battles I've ever done, and that alone was enough to put it above Like a Dragon for me, which kind of had like really repetitive boss fights, like not that much different from each one. Mm-hmm. That's all I'll say for now. I just want to make sure I said that before I forget, because I definitely would have.
Yep. I bet my number 7 is going to be pretty fast as well. I think, Ben, if you played this, it might have been higher for you too, but my number 7 is Silent Hill 2.
Yep, definitely higher for me.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah.
Moving on.
All right.
My number 7 is probably going to be higher on Josh's list. Persona 3 Reload, which, Josh, that might be a surprise that it's so low on mine.
No, it's not. After everything we've talked about it, it's not. But yeah, it's higher on mine, not by much, but it's a little bit higher on mine.
Well, I can't wait to talk about it, dude.
My number 7?
Yep.
My number 7 is Pow World.
Holy shit, that didn't even make my list.
Oh, what a bummer. I can't wait to go back to this game.
Ben, is it fucked up that if Craftopia would have came out this year, I would have ranked it higher than Pow World?
That is fucked up. That's incredibly fucked up, and it makes me mad. Like, shoot mad that you said that. I think that's insane.
We had more fun with Craftopia, I think, than Pow World, even though Pow World was technically a better game. I got more laughs out of playing Craftopia because of how ridiculous it was. You know what I mean?
Was more janky.
Craftopia was funny. Pow World was just like, it was almost a little too good, like compared to Craftopia.
I think that is your problem with it. I think you're right. I think you're definitely right that Power World is a little too good to be amazing. Like, it's a little too good to be amazing, and it's not good. Like, it's not an amazingly made game. It's cool though, and I think it's cool.
Okay, so listen, it's not a bad game by any means, but can you build the Statue of Liberty in it? And the answer is no.
Exactly.
We did that in Craftopia, and
Craftopia within like the first 6 hours. It's
Yeah.
like, what? That's so dumb.
That's what separates the two, I think, is just like on a serious note, is like it was just Craftopia was a time and place thing for us.
Yeah.
Like playing
Well,
that.
like, let's just go discover this random game that
Yeah.
like that looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
That has everything in it. Craftopia was trying to be everything. Power was specifically trying to be a Pokemon like style Craftopia, where you do build and you do so. Craftopia was trying to be an everything game. Power was trying to be a Pokemon survival game
With guns.
and that's the difference. Like Craftopia was trying to be a management sim. Craftopia was trying to be a building game. Was trying to be an automation game, and like some of those elements make it into Power World, but they make it in really late comparatively to Craftopia. I don't like that I'm going on this like very intensive.
It's really funny though. No, it's funny.
Like Craftopia was such a like, oh, there's an art term for it where you just smash a bunch of stuff together.
Yeah.
Because like all the assets were just like these random like free assets. And just that's not the word I'm looking for though. Like that is kind of what it is together. I think that might be it, but it's just like, oh, there's robots in this game, but there's also like nymphs, and there's also like Egyptian mythology, and there's also hell monsters like in Craftopia, whereas Power World's a lot more cohesive in style and in just concept, and so it just wasn't as like insane.
So
but it was still fun.
Here's the best way I could sum it up for me. This is the way I feel. I don't know if this is the way you feel. Do you think we would have like, Aaron, what are you doing, buddy? And directly in your mic, what are you doing? Yep, that's what I thought. All right. So do you think, Ben, we would have liked Power World more had we not played Craftopia at all?
I don't know if we would have. Oh no,
we would have played Power World based on the like. Do you remember how excited we were the first time we heard that there was a new game coming from the people that made Craftopia and that it was Pokemon with guns? Yeah.
But
Pokemon with guns would have sold us though on that alone. I think
it would have been like this fucking loser game, like trying to be the next big thing. But because we knew what it was like playing Craftopia, we're the only two people in the world that played Craftopia. It feels like this time. And it's just like, yeah, this comes from the Craftopia people. Are you kidding me? That's amazing.
Craftopia in so many ways feels like the games that you play in ads on mobile games is what it felt like. And it's just a game we really played.
I've ever felt to playing a Roblox game.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously don't want to talk about Power World for fucking 20 minutes. That's the way I feel about it. Is I think if we had never played Craftopia, we might have liked Power World more, at least for me.
And I also put it on here because fuck Nintendo for trying to sue it.
Yeah.
I think that sucks.
Yep.
I think it's a bitch move.
Yep.
And that sucks. And Power World's kind of cool, and it's neat to see the little guys, and there's some really weird, fucked up monsters in that. And you get your little like knockoff Groki, and you go around and do cool shit in it.
It's on Game Pass.
You give him two Uzis, and he just goes and flips shit up if you're lucky.
It's on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, just play it.
Yeah. So I know that came out in like February, and it's early access. How many content drops have they done since then? Like, how much different is it?
I have zero idea.
It's a great question, buddy.
Yeah.
You know when I played it? In February.
You might know more about it than we do at this point.
No, and like that's another thing. Like I would love to go back to it.
Yeah, we should. We really should.
And I would much rather play that solo than Craftopia.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true for sure.
So.
Okay. That's our regularly scheduled 10-minute segment on Power World and Craftopia. Craftopia comes up in every game of the year discussion now ever since we played it.
Well, if I have anything to say about it.
Yeah, the end of number 7 will be known as the Craftopia block.
Somebody make a note of that. That's an A&G. That's etched in A&G history now.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, 6.
Persona 3 Reload, Aaron. Let's talk about Persona 3 Reload. That's my number 6.
Let's do it, boss.
So out of all the long-ass RPG games I played this year, somehow this ended up being my favorite, I think. Like, just slightly more than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and slightly more than Like a Dragon. I don't know what it did for me. I think it's because I kicked myself in the ass so much for not seeing Persona 5 through all the way. And I really don't know what stopped me from playing it. I think it was whenever that came out on PS4, the only thing that stopped me playing it was the same situation. Like, this is a long game and I have other shit I want to play. So I'm going to put it down for a while, and then I just never came back to it. But Persona 3 Reload, just an excellent RPG. Definitely like took me longer to get through it than Aaron because I felt like I was just playing it wrong at times. I think my final tally was like 92 hours I put into that game before I finished it, and at some point I stopped doing side stuff too. Definitely like more
Yeah, I think I
repetitive.
ended like at 70 or something.
Yeah, definitely more. A lot of the RPGs I played this year, I felt like the side quests were pretty like there was too many of them and they were unnecessary, and it just added like not fake length to the game, but just like more than I wanted. Like I just wanted to get through it. But I love the soundtrack. That's like one of the best like RPG soundtracks I've ever heard. Atlas games are cool. I need to play more of them in the future. I just don't know when I'd ever want to now that I've put 92 hours into one of them, and not including Final Fantasy Rebirth and Like a Dragon this year.
How's that metaphor playthrough going?
So I figured that was going to come up. Speaking of Atlas games, that didn't even make my list this year either, which is crazy because of like I know other people think it's like one of the best RPGs ever made, and I think Aaron and I would have played more of it by now had we not also played Persona and Final Fantasy this year.
100%.
So I've played 7 hours of Metaphor total, and there's nothing about that game that I dislike even about it. But every time Aaron and I agree, every time we fire this game up, we play it for like 30 minutes and we just get exhausted because we've played so many RPGs this year, and there's like slightly more systems and stuff to it than Persona. That's the other thing I guess I'd say I liked about Persona is that there was never really a point where I felt overwhelmed. I'm kind of an RPG noob in some ways. Like I've played a lot of them, but when they have really complex systems, I bounce off. And besides like the Persona fusion and some of that stuff, it really never got too complicated for me. So that definitely was a plus for it. Not that like a Dragon and Final Fantasy were complex or anything, but I think that this was just like it was a pretty simple RPG at the end of the day. Like it was pretty straightforward, and I thought it was really well done.
And I imagine a lot of that was the fact that it was kind of built off the backbone of a PS2 game.
Yeah.
So I think for me, like, I don't know, this year was a really cool year because two of the games that came out that I had a lot of fun with were like PS2 games that I just sat there thinking, man, I wish I would have played this back in the day.
Yeah.
For me, Persona has been like a series that I've always been told I would really like. And it's always like kind of like should have always clicked with me, but there's just been something that's been always like off-putting to me. I think probably because I work in a school, I didn't want to spend time playing a video game in a school.
Yeah.
So I ended up picking it up because Josh just like every single time we would talk, he was talking to me about that game, and every time I got on PlayStation, I saw that Josh was playing it. So I was like, maybe I'll pick this up. I'll play a couple hours. I'll see what the whole thing's about. And just really, really fell into it. For me, like there was a portion of this year where Persona 3 Reload was like my number one, and I was pretty sure it was going to stay there. But then as I played it more and more, like it got really, really, really repetitive.
Extremely repetitive.
And I think because again, it's built off the backbone of a PS2 game, and because the systems are deep, but they're not like super, super deep. They kind of had that limitation at the time. There's really only so far that they could push things, and I think after a while, it just got to a point where I was like, I just want to beat this game to be done with it.
Yeah.
I will say though, the one thing that I really liked about that game, and I've never really felt this in a RPG like to the level that I felt in this, is that around maybe halfway through the game, they start talking about essentially the big bad, right? The guy who's going to end the world.
Yeah.
And just the way that they kept talking him up, there was like a moment where I would just sit there. I was like, I wonder how I'm going to beat this guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can do it. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this is a video game, and of course I'm going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
It was just like really impressive because the way that it was written, it really was just written in this way where it was like really menacing and just really great storytelling. So I was really impressed with that as well.
It does the anime thing where it's like all light and airy for like 20 hours, and then like an hour of it'll be like the darkest and gloomiest shit you've ever heard. Like themes of like self-harm and suicide came up at one point with some of the students at the school, and people turning into like fucking zombies, like shells of their former selves because of this like bad guy. And
well, I think that's why like it hit so hard, right?
Yeah.
Whenever they start talking about like how much or like how like strong this guy's gonna be, because like you really are just messing around a bunch.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a really cool like experience. Finally getting to play a Persona game, and again, like a really big moment of like, I can't believe I've missed these games for so
Oh yeah,
long. Like,
for sure.
I immediately, man, I was probably like 20 hours in that game, and I just immediately pre-ordered Metaphor, and then like
Yeah.
found Persona 5 Royal on sale and just like got it immediately without even thinking about it. And like I said, at the moment, I can't imagine jumping into either one of those games. But
Yeah.
I imagine next year I am just super pumped to jump into Metaphor for a bit.
Yeah, I mean, to sum it up,
By a bit, I mean 90 hours.
Yeah, 90 more hours. To sum it up, I think it's one of the best RPGs I've ever played. The only thing I can knock it for, it might just be a me problem. Again, I don't like it when games don't tell me. You having a good snack there, buddy?
No, I'm actually cleaning the bag up so I can throw it away.
I would say
just wait. It is in the trash now.
the thing I would kind of knock Persona in the same way I did with Like a Dragon. I don't like when games like RPGs specifically don't tell me what level I need to be going into something, so I don't know how much grinding I should be doing in the dungeons, and that's why I put significantly more time into it than Aaron did. Because I know that I'm only going to play this game once and I want to get the best experience out of it. And part of that is like, I don't want to spend 20 minutes banging my head against the wall trying to figure out how to beat this boss. I kind of just want to do it on the first try, you know? Like I'm there for the story. I'm not necessarily there for like the super long grind or the super difficult boss battles. Like that's not why I'm there.
Grinding in that game too was absolutely god awful because
yeah,
if you beat an enemy, it would take the experience and it would split it up between the 3 people
yeah,
who you had in your party.
yeah.
So like you just got nothing for fighting the enemies.
I feel like very easily you and me and Alex could do a 3-hour podcast on just the RPGs we played this year because there were so many of them and they were all so long. But I'm going to cut it off there. But yeah, if you like RPGs, Alex, I do feel like, you know, maybe 2035 whenever you get some free time from games. It is an exceptionally well-made RPG. Like all my problems with the game, other people probably wouldn't have because they didn't burn themselves out on RPGs this year. But definitely, I think I like it even more than Persona 5, but I feel like if I was to go back and play 5, I'd probably end up liking 5 more because that's where I was at before I finished 3. Anyway, I'll cut it off there. But yeah, good game. If you like RPGs, check it out.
We should make a Metaphor pact where we all have to play it next year.
Yep, Blood Pact.
Hell yeah. I've thought
Blood Pact, yeah.
It's like a huge gap for me, and I've heard Metaphor is a good, like actually a decent starting spot, and the fantasy aspect of it like has me.
That's where Persona like cut through it for me. Is like I'm not like you guys are way bigger into like fantasy stuff than I am. Which granted, I love Final Fantasy, but like the school setting, like it just did something for me more than like Metaphor's fantasy setting it does for me or Final Fantasy's setting like medieval setting. Yep. We're gonna leave that in the podcast. Anyway, go on to Alex. What's your number 6?
My number 6, I know we're talking about later, is Astrobot.
Yep. Oh yeah, buddy. We're gonna talk about that later.
My number 6 is Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree.
Hell yeah.
Ooh.
I'm not gonna talk about this one too much. It was a phenomenal expansion to an already phenomenal game that added new systems, and it was super fun to play. All right, Ben, your turn.
My number 6 is UFO 50.
Nice.
Is that higher on anybody's list?
No, I didn't play nearly enough of it. I played like an hour of that on my Steam Deck, and every time I tried one of those games out, I was just like dying constantly, and I wasn't really vibing with any of them, except for the one where you're like painting like the tracks on the thing, like the car painting one. What the fuck is that one? Did you even?
I played that one.
I think that's the only one that I actually really liked out of all of them.
I think the thing with UFO 50 is that
it's higher on my list of games that I don't want to hear people talk about anymore. And that's the vibe I'm going to start you with.
Wow. That's crazy.
Really big talk coming from the guy that's been crinkling his fucking food packaging into the mic for 30 seconds at a time.
No. I'm not talking about Ben. Ben can talk about it as long as he wants. I just want everybody else.
It's kind of funny because there isn't really any games on it that I think are like amazing or out of this world.
Yeah.
But I kind of just love it on concept.
Yeah.
Which exists.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. Like, it's probably shouldn't be that high on my list based on like what I like and what I don't like about it. But I don't know. It's so cool. It's such a cool idea, and I've seen some really fun. I played some fun games on it. Like, there's some fun, really twitchy stuff on it. I think the problem is like I've only like beaten one of them, and they're they're kind of hard games.
They're very hard, at least to me.
And so, like, to me, they're hard. Yeah, because they're like really old style games, and so
Yeah.
like but like the stuff that I'm playing, like there's a really fun vertical shooter in it, like a
Yes.
old like
Yes.
1942 style shooter in it.
That one's
called
also
Star
good.
Wasphere, and that's fun.
Yep.
There's like a fun Windjammers, like, which is pretty
Yep.
cool, but it's hard.
Yeah.
There's a cool little like golf game, and I haven't even gotten into all 50, but it's just a cool thing, and I like it, and I like the music in it, I like the aesthetics in most of it, and it's something that I want to celebrate, and I want to go back to it for sure and play a lot more.
I definitely will for sure. It's been fun to track its release.
Think it will come to consoles?
I don't see why not.
Yes.
Yeah.
It feels like it could, right? 'Cause
Okay,
I heard
cool.
when you put a controller in, like every game is like a 2-button
Yeah.
control scheme, right? That's super cool too.
Yeah, and I mean I played it on
Oh,
Steam
that's neat.
Deck, so it's
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
and if I play it on computer, I played it with a controller, so yeah.
I'm excited to play it whenever it comes to consoles.
Yeah.
All right.
Gosh, number 5.
Number 5, Fields of Mystery. Ben, let's talk about that a little bit. I won't go too deep into it, but we know that Sunset and Stardew has a really special place in our hearts on this channel. Stardew Valley, one of my favorite games of all time. Ben, I think it'd be safe to say the same for you as well.
Yeah.
This, I won't get into it, but for personal reasons, but this has been a really hard year for me and for Christa because of some bad shit that happened at the end of last year. This game came to me at like the absolute perfect time. So much so to like, I feel like I could get emotional talking about like what this game did for me. Like, I didn't realize how bad I needed another Stardew Valley until I got this game and fell into it again for like 30 hours. It's like it does little quality of life stuff too, like being able to jump into the water and swim around and move faster, and just it takes everything I love about those farming sim like Stardew games and makes it just a little bit better. Literally the only reason I didn't rank it any higher, number one, I just like the other 4 games I put on my list better, and number 2, it's in early access, and Ben and I both hit the content wall with it already, like where you just don't have stuff to do anymore. Like the only really like meaningful thing I could do if I picked that game up right now, which granted they could have added more and I don't know, but I would just have to go talk to people and like form relationships, which I never really did a lot in Stardew. But just like with Stardew, I constantly feel the itch to go back and start another run in Stardew, you know, like Fields of Mystery could take over that for me eventually, where I'm like, there's no games coming out for like 3 months and I'm like really depressed or really sad or like my mind's all fucked up. It's like, what's a really easy, like comfort food game I could play? And this, like I said, this game hit like crack as far as like Krista and I both just being in awful places mentally this year. Like she didn't play it, but like for me at least, like it really helped me get through like a couple months of this year. So it's special to me for that reason alone. But just a really good Stardew like game. Like I can't wait to play more of it eventually.
Yeah, I mean it's very Stardew. The characters are really fun. The character interactions are really fun. There's some really good character work in them. All the characters are cool and interesting. I think this game would have really benefited from just like on my end. I would have liked it a lot more if it was just out and I could play it more.
Yeah.
Like I hit the content block in the mines and I was having a lot of fun with the combat in the mines.
Yep.
And
Yep.
after that, I was kind of like, oh, and I think I might have hit I think there might have been like heart blocks on some of the characters too. Like I was going through and trying to romance characters and stuff like that. And I think I might have hit a block on that, and I was like, oh well, I don't want to keep playing this then. Like
I feel
like I just really wanted to just like be there. And I'm looking at the Steam page now, and there was a major update in November, but
I don't know what they actually added.
This is a danger of like early access games. Like I will fall into a game for 30 hours, and I'm like, okay, I played 30 hours of this, and now I don't really want to play it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer because I bet when that game comes out and is fully released, it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be a really good one of those.
Yeah.
And yeah, it doesn't do much like magical with it, but I think it does do some improvements. I think the fishing game isn't anywhere near as good.
No, Stardew's the best fishing mechanic in a game ever.
Hates Stardew's fishing mechanic apparently, but that's for another.
People can suck my ass.
Yeah.
How long did you guys play before you hit the content wall?
30 hours for me, I think.
Yeah, I put 30 hours in, I think, which is like sounds like a lot of time, but it's also like in one of those games, it's not.
For that kind of game, it's really not. Like Stardew, I've put hundreds in. Yeah.
Yeah. Stardew, I put 235 hours in.
Yeah, that's probably the same for me because I played all of that with you. Like I played some by myself on PC, played all that with you in Sunset and Stardew, and then I played the most on PS4. I mean, really, I agree with Ben. That's the only thing I could even knock it for, and that's why it's still number 5 on my list is the content wall. And I don't know, I can't think of another early access game I've played in recent years, or maybe even ever, where I ran out of stuff to do in it.
Yeah.
And that's the risk we took on,
Oh,
knowing that
wow.
we were playing an early access game. I can't think of another game in recent years, or maybe any years for me, where I was absolutely loving it, and then I ran out of stuff to do, and that's the only reason I stopped playing it. I think if that was a full-fledged like Stardew game, I think there was a
Yeah.
chance I might still be playing it now.
Yeah.
Like it's just like I said, I think it means a little bit more to me than it does for you, just because of the reasons I got into. Like it was a game I needed more than I realized.
Oh, for sure.
And it hit like crack. I was like, man, Stardew's so fucking good, and this is just like a slightly like more not even polished, but just like the little improvements. It's like
It's a different take on it.
I went back and tried to play a little bit of Stardew, and I was like, it was amazing seeing like the little changes that Fields of Mystery made to make it feel and play a little bit better. Like Stardew feels a little bit slower in comparison. So I'd probably have a slightly more difficult time going back to Stardew now. But yeah, I'll cut it off there. I fucking love that game. I can't wait to play more of it someday.
Early
Right on,
access,
Alex.
with that.
Alex, number 5.
Number 5, probably higher in Aaron's. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Ooh, it's actually my number 5 too.
Oh, look at that.
Hey, twinning.
Let's get
Go
into
for
this
it.
thing.
Yeah.
So last year, game of the year for me was Final Fantasy 16. I've always loved Final Fantasy in theory, but I've actually have not played that many of them. I've never played the original 7, which my plan is after part 3, which I'm gonna guess is gonna be called Revenge. That's my prediction for it. Um, After that's out, I want to play the original just to see what the hell they did to, to that game to make 3 long ass games out of it. Um, but I started the year playing Remake because I'd started it in 23, but it fell off because of how loaded 23 was. Um, Finished Remake, bought Crisis Core, very different game, but also very cool. And you get some cool background info with Zach, and I'd never played that. Uh, Rebirth, I have no idea how much of a chunk, because I'm pretty sure Remake is only like 7 hours of the original or something. I know you probably know better than me, Aaron.
Yeah, I think 7 hours of the original.
How much of like, time of
It's a pretty big. It's pretty big chunk. I would say it's if. Well, I mean, I guess if the first part, I would say maybe like 13 hours. So pretty decent chunk.
Oh fuck!
Of
I didn't think
the,
about this. Gosh, is this
original.
higher for you, or is it also your?
Oh, Josh is gone, dude.
Oh, sorry, I muted because I wanted to let you guys talk about it.
Oh, I just realized we started going into it. Is Rebirth higher for you?
No, it's number 7. It was my number 7. That's
Oh, that's right,
I
you
skipped
already
I
said it.
skipped over it so you
You're
guys could
right,
talk
I
about it.
totally
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah,
He stopped listening when it took me 5 minutes to figure out how
how long it
much
was.
of that game was the original.
Yeah, I had to crinkle some fucking rappers, so I muted like a person with common decency.
So yeah,
I'd eat those Twizzlers.
yeah. Rebirth is like they. I have no idea what the third part of the game will entail, but I can't imagine them going more buck wild with this section of the game than they did with Rebirth because there is so much fucking game packed into this. It took me, I think, almost exactly 100 hours to play almost everything. There's a couple side quests I didn't do because fuck that middle management guy at the gold saucer at the end. Holy shit. Some of that stuff was so hard. I could not do it and I got very upset. But like story wise for Rebirth, the story is kind of, it's so weird and fascinating in this game because it's one of those games where you're playing it and you're like, do I even know what's happening? Is what I think happening what's actually happening? And it's one of those fun games to like play as it was new because I kept along with Minmax in their deepest dive, listening to them go through it.
Yep, I did the same.
The combat in this game, maybe my favorite RPG combat of all time. Like the
really
action
good.
stuff is so good to play.
Mm-hmm.
Switching between the party members is so snappy, and like building the ATB just fucking rules. And Materia as a system is phenomenal. I could not get enough
Yeah.
of it.
It's good shit.
Some of the probably the best voice acting I would say this year too. It felt like kind of a weak year for voice acting because last year we had like the Baldur's Gate 3 crew and like Ben Starr and Final Fantasy was so good. But I think think her name's Brianna White. She's probably gonna win the award at the Game Awards for her performance with Aerith. But like,
Yeah,
Barrett, Cloud, Tifa, literally everybody was so good in this game.
they were all good.
I any amount of burnout I had this year, it was by the time I was done with this, I was like, holy shit, because I played 50 hours of Remake, straight into 30 hours of Crisis Core, straight into 100 hours of this, and I was like, I don't want to see these fucking people ever again. But so it kind of, I was shocked. It was at one point I thought it was maybe my number one. It was as high as like 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah.
It was a 100-hour game that could have been better if it was like 75 or 80. Some of the side quests just went kind of bananas.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say before I'll turn it over to you, Aaron.
Did you get to the Gilgamesh stuff?
Yes, that part
was so good.
So I don't know. He's from another Final Fantasy game, right? That's why I picked up on. Or is he?
I'm forgetting the number. I think it's 6.
Yeah, in a way.
I don't remember. He shows up in some of the other ones though. Like there's like allusions to him and stuff.
Recurring character situation. Okay, that part was. I forget what minigame got you to him. Was it the?
It was.
I can't remember.
Oh man, what was it? I can't remember either. That's March.
I know, right? Yeah. Whatever it was that. I did all of the Fort Condor. I even did fucking Chadley's stupid ass. Was it Gears and Gambits or something? I had to look it up when I was making my stuff for my game of the year.
Fuck Chadley.
Gears and Gambits, yeah.
Chadley the goat. But by far my favorite. I know, Josh, you didn't love it that much because you're not a huge card game fan, but oh my god, Queen's Blood fucking rules. I just saw today that Gwent is getting a physical card game release. So now I'm like thinking like 8 years down the road. I'm like, okay, next step, they make a standalone Queen's Blood video game. And then like 3 years after that, they'll make a Queen's Blood physical game. And like in 2032, I'm buying that shit because it's going to be awesome. I really, really liked Queen's Blood a lot.
So I know Ben has a heart out here in about 35 minutes. Aaron, if you want to give your quick thoughts. I don't have much to add on Rebirth. You guys liked it a lot more than I did, but still, to put it number 7 on my list, I still really, really enjoyed it, especially the boss battles, like some of the best I've ever done in an RPG.
Yeah, I'll keep mine really quick too. I think for me, I was really hoping that this would be my game of the year, like before I played it, because I just have such a love of the original game. And it was still a lot of fun. Like, I enjoy being in the world. I enjoy, like, talking to those characters. I love how fleshed out some things were with it.
Who was your gold sauce?
But it kind of just...
Real quick, for both of you.
Aerith.
Well, I had Tifa.
Yeah, Aerith.
Ooh, nice. I think just for me, like, believe it or not, that portion of the game is probably like my least favorite until you get to the ending of like where this game was in the original, right? So I just kept kind of like playing it, thinking, man, I just love the back half of this game, the original game, so much, and I just can't wait to play that. And that's just what I kept thinking the entire time I was playing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, that's obviously super high up there for us. But yeah, let's move on to, what is it, Aaron's number 5 or 4? I don't know where.
Nope, that was my number 5.
Number 5? Okay, so Ben's number 5. Yep. Ben, you there, buddy?
Ben's dead. Nope.
My number 5 is a game that was called Delta Force Hawkos, but is now just called Delta Force. And it was actually a game test I was playing during the summer. This game is a free-to-play Battlefield game, but also it has an extraction mode in it. And if you've heard any of the previous pods, you probably heard about my love for DMZ, which was Call of Duty's extraction mode. And I've always been very curious about the OG, like, big-time extraction shooter. It's called Escape from Tarkov. And it's a very, very hardcore game. Delta Force and DMZ is a very, very casual game. So it takes, like, the same kind of extraction mechanics, but puts it in a very, very light, very, very low risk, especially with all the updates in DMZ, very, very low risk style of game. Whereas Tarkov is very, very high risk if you fail, and very, very just mechanically dense. And this probably puts it right. It's a lot closer to Tarkov, so probably like a 60% of a Tarkov. It has the same kind of like inventory style management type stuff. that always gets me going. It has it has the weapons attachment stuff, and the shooting was cool. The maps were cool. The looting was fun. And just some of the neat stuff. It's not nearly like it's not survival based, so it doesn't have like food or like thirst mechanics like some other games do in the genre. So it's very much more of a focused on like the looting and the shooting, and then it has some cool character abilities. And it just like fully launched, and I'm excited to get back into it very soon. So
Oh yeah.
if you have any interest in those types of games, like extraction games, I would highly seek that out. My favorite like gaming personality, like solo streamer, played a lot of it this year, and I watched him play a lot of it, and I played a lot of it, and it's just very interesting one of those without having to pay the crazy amounts for Tarkov, which it gets kind of expensive, and also not supporting some of those devs which seem like not great people and kind of
Yep.
not great at monetization and also not great in their ideas about people. So
Yeah. I'd be playing that game with you for sure if I had a PC that could run it. I'd basically play any new shooter like that. And we had such a good time with Alex and I were talking about Rainbow Six Extraction. Big shout out to 2022 and DMZ. When I play with you guys, I'd definitely be playing it with you if I had a PC that could run it. So maybe someday.
And it will do. It will eventually have crossplay, and it will come to console eventually. I think it's next year is when they're planning for that. So
all right, well shit, yeah. I'll
Yeah.
dive in with you then.
Cool.
All right, so we're on to my number 4 then.
Yeah.
Definitely going to be higher on your guys' list. Balatro, aka Balatro, however you want to say it. That's number 4 on my list.
Actually, number 4 on my list too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
we're
we'll
gonna
talk about it
combine
more
our
when we
minds.
get to Ben and Alex, but this is a game I did not see myself playing like 50 hours of this year total. Like I was extremely intimidated by it, did not think it was a game for me, and then all of a sudden 50 hours went by between mobile and console, and that was the other mobile game I talked about earlier.
I'm psyched to hear your journey on this one because it was
Me,
fascinating to experience in real time.
Yeah.
I'm happy. That's all I have to say. I'm so glad you got into it.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally just you and Ben like convincing me, like pushing me a little bit more and more each time. Like you should stick with it because it's like a really good game. And then I just kept playing it, and it kept getting better. I'm in a bit of a winning rut right now, but yeah.
We'll talk about it. Alex,
Shh.
you're number 4.
My number 4. I don't know if anybody else played this. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Played it and ran into that.
No.
Played it and ran into that fucking quest glitch
Oh my
like a
God,
couple hours
I
into
did
it, and
play it.
had to wait for an update and never went back to it. But I will
Dude,
eventually.
I would have been heartbroken if that happened because I
Yep.
think that's early enough to know that how much I fucking love that game.
Yep.
So I said earlier that I'm not a Metroidvania guy, and this is literally the only one that I've ever been able to like really get into. And I don't know if this is like commonplace for the genre now, or if this is something that Prince of Persia like started. We talked about with Danimal Well, like running into that wall and not knowing, like I have to remember this spot on the map, and I need to know I need to come back here when I get to a certain item. And Prince of Persia just lets you take a screenshot and pin it to the map. I don't know if that's commonplace now, but that was
No, I
like
think that's the first one that did that.
fucking mind blown when I saw that. I was like, oh my God, that's literally like, that is the thing that was keeping me from this. It's just helping me get to that. So that helped with like the navigation side of like how Metroidvanias work of waiting till you get a certain power up or whatnot. The combat it's an awesome side-scrolling fighting game, great parry systems, and the best part is like all of the stuff you get for traversal to get through those spots you would get blocked can be used in combat too. So like you're jumping, you're dashing, you're backflipping, you're leaving a copy of yourself to like teleport back to that copy to fight somebody from behind or whatever. It felt so fucking good to play, and it's got my favorite, like, I guess you would call it platforming challenges in any game I've ever played. There'll be a collectible where you have to string all those things I said: jumping, dashing, double jumping, leaving a copy behind, all sorts of stuff. And you're like jumping through obstacles and stuff, and you're not touching the ground for like 30 seconds. And it's one of those things where you'll get to a spot and you're like, okay, do I need to jump, dash, jump, or do I need to jump, jump, dash first, then jump, wait a second, wait till I fall a little bit, then I can jump through a thing. Like it's each one of those little sections was like a small puzzle in and of itself.
It's some Super Meat Boy shit.
Oh my God. I felt like, like you pull off something in a game and you just feel like you were a god doing that. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. I just pulled this off. Like that's what it felt like time and time and time again. I think I played it for I end up going for the platinum because if I like a game long enough that I'm to the point where I've got a guide pulled up and I'm like, all right, I missed 3 of the 18 chests in this zone of the map. I don't know what 3 they were, so I'm going to look at a guide and go one at a time to find them all. I was doing that because it was tedious, but all it meant was if I found a chest I didn't have to go to, it would give me like 2 minutes of that really fun traversal that I had no problem doing. And I think the Marvel Spider-Mans were probably my favorite traversal in the game until this one. This is my favorite game to just run around in that I've ever played. And it was on sale on Black Friday on Amazon. I saw for $15, and I think it's only like 50 base price. And of course, fucking Ubisoft. I'm pretty sure shuttered the studio that made it, so I was very pumped for a sequel, and that's not going to happen. But The Lost Crown ruled. The story was actually kind of fun. Like I'd never played a Prince of Persia game with the time manipulation that gets into it. An event happens early in the game, and the end of the game is you coming back as a different version of yourself to that moment to fix what happened.
Nice.
Which I love stuff like that. It's awesome. Like I feel like just watching like 30 seconds of gameplay of this, watch all the jumping and diving around.
Yeah.
Could sell it for you. It's a phenomenal game.
It felt great to play.
It was the first new game I played this year, and I was like, I played my game of the year first. Nothing's going to top this.
Yeah.
And it held the spot for a while.
I'm going to go back to it eventually for sure.
Really quick for a really good shout out for reading. Jordan Mechner, the guy who made the original Prince Persia, like had journals of kind of his process of making Prince Persia. Definitely worth a read. It's really, really good.
That sounds awesome. I'll have to check that out.
Ben, did you ever read that?
I think Ben.
I have not read it. No, I'm not a big reader anymore, unfortunately. Yeah, but I've heard good things about it.
Really, really good.
All right, Aaron, what's your number 4?
Belacho.
Oh, that's right. So, Ben, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Black Ops 6.
Hey, that's my number 3, so we can just transition right into that.
Perfect,
that worked out.
Perfect.
Alex and Aaron don't give a shit about COD, so I'll just go through this really quick. Best COD game that they've made, like out of the last 3, I'd say. Multiplayer is really fun. Literally, if they can fix the spawns and give us some slightly better multiplayer maps, it could go down as like one of my favorites of all time. I'm like halfway through the campaign. The campaign's really fun. I've only played a little bit of zombies with Brandon and Chaz on my Extra Life stream, but I'd gladly play more of that. I think it is a complete package Call of Duty game, which is something that we have not had for the last several. I don't think I've liked one this much since the last Black Ops, which was Cold War, which is when they broke the fucking numbering tradition of naming them. So now there's not a Black Ops 5. It's just Black Ops Cold War, and now it's 6. But yeah, Ben, I'm really glad that you're back into playing some multiplayer on COD, because I know that you fell off there for a couple years, and understandably so, because it was super fucking frustrating, and the game still has a long way to go. I do not plan on touching ranked at all, because ranked is infested with cheaters and hackers and stuff, so I will continue to just play this game in pubs, and that I'm happy with that, just leveling up guns.
It's just fun. It
just
feels good. The multiplayer, I don't like Warzone right now, but I'll maybe try it some more and try to get back into it.
Yep, same.
It's definitely an acquired a taste that I've lost.
Yeah.
But the multiplayer itself, zombies is pretty fun. They just did season 1 Reloaded.
Yep.
So I'm excited to eventually get some time back and go in and play some more Black Ops.
Play Christmas Nuketown.
It's just a good Call of Duty. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just I miss that, because like we would play a lot of Warzone, and I'd play a lot of DMZ, and then you'd be like, oh, come play multi. I'm like, okay, like I would be really regretful. But now it's like, oh man, it's a bummer that they haven't brought DMZ back in a while, and they like basically shelved it. It's still out there, still living, and a lot of people are playing it, but there's just not a lot of incentive to go back to it, because you used to be able to like grind out guns and stuff in that.
Yeah.
And now there's no progression. But multi is fun. I like playing Nuketown. I mean, Black Ops 6 for me right now is like Nuketown the video game. And
just leveling guns.
I'll just play Nuketown 24/7 all day. Like that's the kind of.
There is another new map that they just put in the game this week. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like an even smaller map. It's like in a bank vault type room, and it's really good for leveling.
Shipment, like small map thing. I just really like the design of Nuketown.
Yeah, Nuketown's great. It's a great map. It turns out like people love that map, and they should just put it in every Call of Duty. Last thing I'll say is that really made me happy this year to see you actually playing multiplayer on your own. Like that's how I could tell you really liked it. I was like, because before it was just like a group thing only, you know.
Oh yeah.
And it makes me happy.
Feel good. It just wasn't.
No.
I think the guns feel a lot better. You don't have to go in and tune a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like the most meta gamer to actually have
Yes.
fun. It feels
Yes.
like
Warzone is still that way, like
yeah.
way more than Black Ops 6, but like they're finally getting back to where they need to be.
Yeah, I'm like having fun just walking around with a light machine gun, just roasting fools. Like,
Yep. It's a good Call of Duty game. It's just
Yeah.
good, just a good COD. That's all it is.
Heck yeah.
All right. So that was my number 3. Alex, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Helldivers 2.
Nice. Yeah, you and Ben can fucking go off about this one.
Oh, that's my number 2.
All right.
All right, we'll wait.
Yep, we'll
come
skip.
back.
So, Aaron, what is your number 3?
My number 3 is Stellar Blade.
Nice.
Ooh. I knew.
All right, let's jump into it. I'm gonna
Go
keep
off,
this
King.
one super quick. What was that, Ben?
Go off, King.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So Nier Automata is probably like maybe my favorite video game of all time. So when this game came out, and then immediately everyone's like, "It's kind of like Nier," I was like super on board. So really, like, it has fast combat. The combat I thought felt really good. I thought it was pretty well paced and just kind of kept going. And yeah, I don't know. I just had such a blast playing it. I got done, I beat it, and I immediately jumped into New Game Plus, and kind of like what Alex was saying earlier, like started pulling up guides so I could find everything, because I just wanted to like stay in that world. So yeah, I don't know. That's really about all I got for it. I just really had a wonderful time with it, and just wanted to keep playing it, and phenomenal combat,
Yeah.
and yeah.
They did a Nier crossover of some sort, right? Even if it was just like a skin. I think.
Yeah, it was just so it was like $10. It was like you walked around, you picked up a couple things, and then you got skins. So nothing nothing great. And honestly, the $10 was a little like, oh, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Still added some stuff. So
Yeah,
the setting I think
it.
too is like, yeah, the setting is also like I love future like dystopian worlds in video games, and I really loved the world that they created in it. So yeah. Alex, do you have any thoughts on it?
I was gonna say it was my number 14, and that's solely because games with that style of combat, I made the mistake of playing like 5 hours of it, really liking it, and then, God, I don't remember what came out at that point in the year, but I came back, I stopped and came back like 2 months later and tried to pick up, and I was like, oh
yeah,
this muscle memory is gone. So I want to just fully restart it. I wasn't that far into it because I did like it. It's really cool.
I was honestly like impressed by how complex the combat was, because you're right, like they really did. It was very surface level at first, but then it just got so deep with all the mechanics that it just kept adding up throughout the game.
Great music too.
Oh yeah, phenomenal soundtracks.
Yeah.
Soundtrack.
All right, Ben,
Sorry,
what's your number 3?
Got distracted.
My number 3 is Shadows of Doubt.
I don't know what that is, or maybe
this is a how would I describe it? It's a procedurally generated voxel based, and it came out. It launched in early access, I think, last year, but came out 1.0 this year. It's a procedurally based like voxel detective game, and you actually kind of create like a. I know Aaron really liked. Have you played Alan Wake 2, Aaron? You played it? Or not yet?
Just the like maybe 3 hours of it, so I'm not super deep yet.
So like you do the whole like ribbon to between things, like make the connections. Yeah. It's so cool, and it's an immersive sim in a way. Like you break into people's houses, you like study their fingerprints, you ask them their names, you take their picture, you do these little missions, and it's just the style is really slick because it's like neo-noir style, like neon but dark, and it's like you go and you can but like it has the voxels in it, like tear down, but there's just like a lot of cool little mechanics, and you're like a private eye, and like some of the missions are like, oh, you can go solve this murder. Other missions are like, go mess up this dude's apartment because he cheated on me. Other ones are like, hey, find out who's like who's stealing stuff at work. And like a lot of it is just like, oh, I'm gonna break into these apartments, I'm gonna sneak through the vents to get out of here. But other parts of it are very much like, wait a second, and because everyone in the game has fingerprints. Like everyone that's in the world has fingerprints. Everyone in the game has, a work schedule. So it's very much this clockwork style, real simulated world. And you just kind of go around and look at all this stuff, and some of the stuff you find might help you out later. Some of the stuff you find might be like a big red herring. I know I spent like probably 5 hours on one of the cases, and I was chasing down a completely wrong suspect, and I was so convinced it was this person, and then just the evidence just didn't back it up, and I had to like start all over again and retrace my steps. It's really neat. It's actually really cool, and it looks. I think a lot of people might be turned off by how it looks. I think the style's kind of cool, but yeah, it's just a really fascinating style of game. It is absolutely a sandbox. It's absolutely a clockwork world. And like if you ever wanted to be like, oh, I'm gonna go figure out this mystery, it's exactly that.
Dude, I've been looking for ever since I played LA Noire. I'm like, I just want a really good fucking detective game. Like even
It's
Alan Wake,
it's this.
pretty cool, but it's not what this is.
Yeah.
This sounds
No,
like what I'm
this
talking.
is rules. I played it for I will more than happy go back and play it. Like it's just a really interesting like get yourself into sticky situations, try to get yourself out, use all these like weird little like gadgets and gizmos and like upgrade yourself with like these data discs. It's just kind of cool.
It looks awesome. I've every year you have a couple games, man. Where I listen to games media stuff pretty
Yeah.
regularly, and I've never fucking heard of this. This sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right.
Check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're down to our top 2 games for all of us of the year. And I just realized now with my number 2 that I unintentionally made Final Fantasy VII my number 7. And now I've made Silent Hill 2 my number 2. I did not do that on purpose. That's just the way that worked out. So, boys, Ben didn't play this one. Aaron and Alex, let's talk about Silent Hill 2.
Yep.
Where is it on your list? Is it higher for you? So 7 for you. And then where's it at for you, Aaron? Oh, Aaron's muted. All right, Aaron, where's
my number 2?
Number 2. Okay, so let's talk about it. So my overall feelings coming away from this is that I still like Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space better, but this is right up there, like just below those. What really catapulted this game to number 2 for me was thinking back on it about how it was actually scary, it was actually tense. The score is one of the best horror scores I've ever heard, to the point where, and it wasn't like fake out bullshit either, where like they would like jump scare you with music or like play tense music to make you think something was bad was going to happen and then it didn't. When tense shit was going to happen, you knew it was happening because the music started getting crazy, you know? And one of the best like scores of the year for sure. But Alex, I put this on our list for best out of nowhere game for the Swirly Awards, and I don't know if it'll actually stick, but for me, it's an out of nowhere game because we fully expected this game to be a piece of shit because of the way people were talking about it. The first the trailer looked awful. I was like, man.
The first 3
And
trailers of that game
just the fact that like it did a 180 for me and for us, and like ended up sitting in like my top 5 horror games of all time. Like it's a fucking miracle that this happened the way it did. Some of my favorite horror boss battles, the Pyramid Head boss battle, the fucking what was the Abstract Daddy was the name of the one. Oh my god. Best character name of the year for sure. Yeah, and then the final boss, and then like them. Ben, you don't care about Silent Hill spoilers, right? Okay. The final moment of the game being they make you shoot your wife essentially, or like they like make you physically pull the trigger, to finish off that final boss, reminded me very much of like The Last of Us, the Ellie and Abby fight, where you have to actually keep beating her ass because you can't proceed in the game until you keep punching her.
Yeah.
Really strong ending to that game. I would gladly play more of this Bloober Team's Silent Hill remakes. I've always been way more of a Resident Evil and Dead Space guy than Silent Hill, and this brought me into that series in a way to where like I wouldn't go back and play the old ones now, but I will gladly play more new ones.
Yeah.
Go next.
Definitely for me. I have always really wanted to get into Silent Hill. I think I rented Silent Hill 4 back in the day. But definitely something like a series I've always been really interested in. But ever since like after I think 4 came out, all I ever heard was, "Oh, this game isn't that good. Oh, this game isn't that good." And then they announced this, and like Josh said, like was not excited for this at all. In fact, actively was like, "I can't believe they're doing this," because all the combat trailers, like everything about the game, just looked bad. And then it came out and just got these phenomenal scores. And I picked it up, started playing it, and then just the entire time, I just kept thinking, I can't believe I've missed out on this series for so long. Just the entire time, I just kept thinking, man, I wish I would have played this back in the PS2 game or 2 era, because I just had so much fun with it. And like Josh said, if this team makes any more of these games, like I want to play them,
Absolutely.
because of just how well made this was. And like Josh said, like actually scary. I think for me, I typically am not that scared with horror video games. Mainly because a lot of the ones that I play, like they're giving you weapons, right, and then you can just kind of blast your way through it. And this one, they kind of do the same thing, but you still like had that tense of it, right? You still just didn't know what was going to be around the corner, and depending on what was around the corner, what point in the game, it's like I don't know if I can like fight this. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know what I can do. So just really, really well crafted, really, really well made.
Alex, you have anything you want to say on it really quick? I want to keep it moving because I know that you guys are going to have a lot to say about Balatro and Helldivers, so I want to make sure we allow time for that.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to it is, I'm new to horror games from as of last year. I hate jump scares, and having a lot of ammo in a game makes me feel like less scared.
Yeah.
And this game both gave you a radio static noise to know something was coming, and I had plenty of ammo the whole time.
Yep.
And when I stream these games, I have a scare counter on stream. Anytime it gets me, I add one to it. This was the highest, I think, other than Dead Space, which is my first one, the highest scare counter I ever had. And with those two things in mind, you wouldn't think that'd be the one that would do it, but it was just like the prison sequence. I was like locked up for 2 whole hours. It was fucking terrifying. Just the whole atmosphere
Pitch black.
is insane. Can't see a damn thing.
Nope.
James is just on the worst acid trip of all time. Like
Goofy fucking dipshit with his busted ass flashlight. You can't see a foot in front of you.
Shout out to Eddie. I love when I see representation of myself in video games.
And I think that's a perfect note to end Silent Hill 2 on. So where are we at now? So Silent Hill 2 was my number 2. Alex, what's your number 2?
My number 2, I don't think anybody else played. I would be shocked if it's somebody's number 1 at this point. Dragon Age: The Veilguard.
Yeah, no, I haven't played it.
Could not fucking believe this is the most recent game other than Lego Horizon the last couple days that I played. 85 hours, 100% this game. I've never played a Dragon Age game before, and the only BioWare games I played were Mass Effect 1 and 2 when that Legendary Collection came out. The quick bullet points of this: the combat fucking rules. It is so fun. It's not quite as good as Final Fantasy 7, but there was a moment where I was like, which one do I like better? And I really thought about it. So you can play as one of 3 classes: rogue, warrior, mage, pretty standard, and each one has 3 subclasses. So like I played as a rogue, and I went the duelist route where I was like my daggers, poison damage, quick melee strikes, diving and ducking out of the way, parrying attacks. Incredible. Very, very fun. The companion system, you have 2 of your 7 companions in your party fight with you, and they act on their own. They don't have health, they can't die. So that was awesome to only like you're controlling your one, but you're basically using cooldowns on the others. And the way I've been describing the combat system is it's basically like an alley-oop system. So outside of like fire damage, shock damage, frost damage, poison damage, all that stuff, certain characters can apply either weakened, which means they do less damage, sundered, they take more damage, or overwhelmed, where their stagger bar fills up faster. One of your characters will apply that, and then somebody else can detonate those abilities. So the idea is like I apply weakened as my character, and then Davrin, one of my other characters in the party, could detonate that, and it's just like an explosion, like huge AOE damage that blows a whole bunch of stuff up and does a lot of damage. It's just that fun flow of like one character just sets somebody else up to just like really hammer home the kill, and it's incredible. Being a BioWare game, the companions, every single one of them by the end of it, there's 7. I was trying to figure out who my least favorite was, and like I couldn't really pick one because all of them are awesome, really well written. The story arcs that they all go through that you follow them along are amazing. And do any of you care about spoilers for this game?
No, I do not.
Nah.
So I played Mass Effect 2, didn't finish the companion full story arcs by the time I got to the final mission. Apparently this is a thing in these games. I played the ending of Mass Effect 2 and just watched half of my crew just fucking die because I didn't finish their stuff. I had no idea. So going into this game, I was like, we're fucking finishing every last mission because I love all these people and I cannot stand to watch one of them die. You go to the final. Story is two elf gods get loose, causing a whole bunch of problems. You're trying to kill them. In the final attack, that's like, oh, this is a suicide mission. Who knows if we'll make it out alive? In my head, I'm like, oh, they're all gonna make it out alive because I did everyone's companion quest. Like I maxed out everybody's relationship. There's a moment when you go in where the party splits, and I don't know if it's always the same two characters, but the game's like, all right, Alex, someone has to lead the other group. It's either the person you romanced, Harding, this dwarf woman who's super cool, or Davrin, your second favorite guy. And I was like, sorry, Davrin, you got to go. You got to go with them. But you're good because I did all the companion missions. Josh, this will show up in the oh shit moments. They kept saying like whatever it takes, whatever it takes, whatever it takes throughout the whole game. There's a moment where like they need to do something, and Davrin just goes whatever it takes and like sacrifices himself and like legit fucking dies. Like
That's
there is
crazy.
you cannot stop it. Someone in your party has to die. And knowing how the other BioWare games I had played operated, that fucking blew me away. And I did this at like 1 o'clock in the morning because I was trying to finish this game. I couldn't stop playing it.
Oh yeah, dude.
Ugh, heartbreaking. It's an awesome game. It took
Yeah.
me like 85 hours.
I'll check that out whenever it goes on sale at some point. I'm excited to check that out eventually.
Yeah.
Moving right along because I know we're on a little bit of a time crunch here. Ben, what? No, it's okay. You're good. Ben, what's your number 2? Because Aaron's number 2 is Silent Hill 2. So Ben, what is your number 2?
My number 2 is Helldivers 2.
Hell yeah! All right, so take a minute and talk about Helldivers 2. You guys liked it way more than I did, so I'm just gonna give you the floor.
Yeah, Helldivers 2 is just so fun to play with other people, and it's just such an uncompromising game that is so cool. And the first Helldivers was just like this, and I was so excited to see more and more people get into just the Helldivers kind of like, I guess, manifesto, or like design decisions that they make. It's just so it feels very like you feel very like there. It's very immersive, and like you're fighting these aliens or you're fighting these things with such a great little like satiristic like mega patriotism type deal. The guns feel good. The co-op is so fun. It's so fun to just be with your friends because it's uncompromising and like, hey, anything that can hurt anything in this game can also hurt you and your friends. And you'll accidentally blow someone up. Yeah, best user-friendly fire ever. You drop these bombs to try to like get yourself out of these crazy situations, and it kills your friend. And like, and you're like, oh no, and it's just very much like, oh shit, the video game, and the explosions are pretty, and everything's it's just fun. It's just a cool video game.
Yeah, inputting stratagems is the funnest mechanic. Like, I don't know what you call it, controller input in any game I've ever played. Because like fucking it up when you really need to get in that laser beam, and like you just like, God damn it, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that panic and just cackling and laughter. Oh my god, it's one of the. I don't play games with other people most of the time. I'm a solo gamer. This broke me out of that, and I kind of fell off because it was similar to what you guys talked about, Fields of Mystery. I feel like I had capped what I reasonably could do. Like I was playing with my buddy Austin, and we couldn't do any harder than a 5. And I'd done 6s before, but like I bought every ship upgrade I could have got. Like there was nothing else to do other than just play it, which is fun. But like at any moment, if someone's like, "You want to play Helldivers?" Oh my god,
yeah,
I will leave anything. I'll stop.
I think, I feel the same way. And like, I have some friends that still play it like on the regular, and I'm always like, is it? And they like started complaining about it. And I was like, oh, maybe the game's not good. But now it seems like it's supposed to be like up there, like back to where it's supposed to like really, really fun. Because for a while they were like nerfing stuff and changing things, and it just kind of made how you wanted to play the game not as fun. And there was like a lot of people who were very focused, like where games kind of get ruined, like on a meta build for how they were supposed to run it. And luckily, from what I've heard recently, and that makes me really want to get back to it, is that it's like back to being super fun again. So
I love that.
I really enjoyed my time with it. I put a ton of time into it. It was fun solo. It was fun with friends. It was fun when you would like team up with random sometimes. Just like kind of go out and try to get done what you wanted to get done, and just some of the moments in that game are just spectacular.
Yeah.
And funny. Like, it's a genuinely funny
Hilarious.
game.
Yeah.
Like, the moments can be hilarious.
Yep.
Shooting your friend or diving like a million miles and fucking knowing your friend's in there, be like, sorry, dude, there's like 18 Terminids over there. I'm throwing this napalm. You just gotta get out of the way. Sorry, man. Oh my god.
Eagle Strike Stratagem forever. Most satisfying explosion ever made in a video game.
Yeah. And like you can find random like unexploded nukes on the ground and you shoot them and they just make the most beautiful explosions in the world.
Yep.
Yes.
And then or you launch a missile and you're just standing there saluting and then you see the nuclear explode, the massive nuclear explosion from so far away. It's also, just cool. It's just an action movie, the game.
Yep.
Absolutely. And underrated for best music, like that music that plays when you go into it.
That theme is great.
Yep.
Like I fucking love
good
that.
Shit.
That was stuck in my head for months.
And Helldivers 2 had Omni movement before Black Ops 6, so
that's true. It did. It's true. It did.
I could dive in any direction.
Hell yeah.
I still think that game needed like a dodge roll. That was the one thing it felt like it was missing for me. I would have really liked a dodge roll in that. All right. Well, we're down to our games of the year. That's where we're at. Ben, if you do need to go, we can save my game of the year for the end. You're good?
Right now, I think.
Okay.
Good for right now.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached Adage Renown Gaming's game of the year for all four of us. We finally made it.
I can't think of what your number one is.
Astrobot.
Forgetting. Oh my god, we haven't talked about it yet.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. So
go for it.
Okay. So Aaron, it's your number one then too, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, but go for it.
It is one of the best platformers I've ever played. Tightly made from start to finish, up there with some of the best Mario games ever made, in my opinion. If you are a PlayStation fan, you need to play Astrobot. It is a loving tribute to the last 30 years of PlayStation characters in history. Every time you look at something in this game, it's lovingly built to remind you of what you love about PlayStation. It's always been my favorite platform. I think Alex and Aaron, I think you're right there with me on PlayStation being our favorite platform, has been for a long time, other than like the Xbox 360 era. That's the only thing that's ever really beat it for me. Yeah. Just so delightful to play. I mean, literally, I gave this game a 9.5. The only thing that kept it from being a 10 was just how fucking hard some of those challenge levels were. But I mean, that's literally it. Like, other than that, like, almost a perfect video game. Just so delightful to play, so well made, just such a tight, well-rounded platforming experience. Literally doesn't give you time to even get tired of a mechanic because you play one for a level and then it introduces another one. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen so many fresh new mechanics in a game. And also, from what we learned with Astro's Playroom, like, probably the best usage of the haptic feedback in a DualSense controller that they've done yet. You feel every movement, every punch, every jump. I mean, you feel it, just everything. Like, I can't rave about this game enough. Like, I'm gonna cut myself short because I will not stop once I start. It's up there with some of my favorite Mario games of all time. Before this, like, Mario Odyssey was up there for me as like one of my all-time favorites. This is on par with all of those. I went back through, I did all of the speedrunning levels, played all those a couple times, enough to get the trophies. It's just, it's my game of the year with a bullet. I knew that the moment that I finished that game, I said to myself, and I said to Aaron, nothing's going to beat this for me this year. And sure enough, that was the truth.
Yep. Go for it, Aaron, your turn.
Yeah, I was going to say it's about how I feel about it too. There's not really too much more to add, just that it just was so good. I just kept wanting to play it, and to a point where I was like replaying levels just because I enjoyed them so much. Even after I collected everything, I just wanted to keep like playing them just because I loved the haptics, I loved the level design. And yeah, I mean, most of the time whenever I 100% a game, I just put the controller down, and maybe I'll come back to it in like a couple of years. I 100% of this game and still just went back and just kept playing the levels over and over and over again.
Yep. And it's
Ben.
Did you get into speedrunning?
You would love it.
It's so fucking good.
Yeah, dude, it's so good. I didn't get too much into the speedrunning because whenever the speedrunning came out was whenever my kiddo was born, so I just haven't had a chance to go back to it. But yeah, I mean, up until that point, like I said, I was putting it on almost every single night just because I wanted to just keep, like, I just wanted to stay in the world and I wanted to keep playing it.
The last thing that I will say is that this is the only game in recent...
You gotta play it.
All right, absolutely.
This is the only game in recent years where I could confidently say if they put the second game out tomorrow, I would drop everything I'm playing and play that instead.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I can add to it, and I won't spoil it because Ben, you should play this. When you beat a boss, like beat a world, you find a special iconic PlayStation character, and that opens up a special type of level.
Yep.
Absolutely gobsmacked by all 5 of those?
Every single time.
Every single one. Yep.
And they're all like,
Yeah.
I was cheesing like a fucking 6-year-old on Christmas. Like, it is
Yep.
just pure joy in a video game. And the only reason it wasn't high
Dude.
for me is I just played it significantly less than the other ones, but through no
Mhm.
fault of its
Yeah.
own. It's a perfect video game for what it's trying to be. It's awesome.
amazing. It's amazing.
Alex, I love that you brought that up because, like, I would talk to Josh, who was farther in it than I was at almost every point, and I would be like, "Oh man, I just played this level last night," and talking about like those levels you're talking about, and Josh would just be like, "Oh, dude, just wait, it gets
Just wait."
better."
It's the
And
same thing to me.
it just kept doing it over and over and over again. I
Wow.
was just like, "How can this game be so?"
It doesn't stop. My
Great.
only point of not liking it was like because I was forcing myself to get all the collectibles and 100% it. Like I didn't have to do that, and I don't do that with most games. And this game, like I said, I gladly 100%ed it, did all the speed running levels. And like I said, if Astrobot 2 was announced at the Game Awards and came out that night, I would play it. I would drop everything. I don't care what I was doing. If I was in the middle of a COD match, I'd stop playing. I'd play Astrobot 2 today.
Yep. It fucking rules.
Yep. So yeah, Astrobot is Aaron's number one. Alex, what's your number one?
I think Ben and I are in tandem here.
Yeah.
Yep.
My number one with a fucking bullet is I've been saying Balatro because I started watching Northern Lion because of Balatro.
Yep.
He says Balatro. I played 300 hours of this game, and it had, before we even get into the details of it, it has my favorite accomplishment in any game I've ever played. I beat every single deck on Gold Stake. And apparently it's a
wow.
trophy that only 1% of players have. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize how rare that was because I assumed everybody was just as addicted to it as I was. And it was, I don't even know how to describe this game. Like, it's like a poker roguelike is like the catchphrase to like get you in on it. But it's only poker in that, like, do you know what a flush is? Do you know what a straight is? What a two pair is? But then, like, after you play your first hand, like, the only time it's actual poker is the small blind of ante one, and then you get a joker, and then maybe a tarot pack or a planet.
And
pack.
even then, it's not because you have a
Yeah.
bigger hand than a 5-card hand.
Right? Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think my hour count is it's like 297 or something like that in Balatro. It became my brain is exhausted. Like, Josh, you mentioned like the beginning of your year was rough. My work year this year has been just fucking brutally terrible.
Yep.
Like, hating my job. I dread every morning I wake up to go to work for a huge chunk of the year. And like, Balatro is my way to just shut everything off and just hear dun 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 dun, dun just on repeat, and just the most satisfying like card shuffle. Like, every noise in that game is so like just dopamine, just constantly. I'll throw it to you, Ben, to talk, because I didn't even know what to like talk about when I was writing my scripts for my game of the year stuff, because it's every bit of it is just incredible. Like, I've never played a game like this before.
It's the perfect puzzle game. It's a puzzle game in of itself. Every run that you get going and start building a machine that can score you higher and higher points, you feel like the smartest person alive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it like you just feel like the smartest person in the world. You're like, yeah, I got this shit on lock. And then they throw a little like wrench in your plan, and you're like, oh, I'm actually the dumbest person alive.
The perfect boss blind. I'm fucked.
Yeah, I'm screwed. And like it doesn't even, like, there are some times where you get screwed over and it feels like the worst feeling in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But other times you're just like, all right, back at it. Like, I have, so on PC, if you sit and play it, R is like a quick restart. I did not play this mostly on the PC. I played this on my Steam Deck. It's a great Steam Deck game. It's probably what I've played the most on my Steam Deck out of any game. I'll just sit, watch TV. There was times where I was watching Northern Lion play Balatro earlier this year, and I was playing Balatro while I was watching someone else play Balatro, Like that's how entrenched I was in this video game.
Absolutely.
It was just, and it's just easy. It's easy to like get into. It's really hard to master. I'm amazed that you beat everything on Gold Stake. I'm working my way through like blacks and blues right now, I think.
Black Stake,
have
Black Deck Gold Stake almost
Oh
took
man.
my soul from me. I played 20 hours of Black Deck Gold Stake just to beat that.
Did you do all the challenges?
I did.
Crazy, man. That's insane. Like, I'm like thinking about some of the challenges, just like thinking about Jokerless, and I don't even know if I watched
Dude,
and I'll like beat it, but it just seems like you just have to be like perfect storm for some of that stuff, and just in tune with like, okay, this is what I'm going for, this is what I've been fed. Okay, like if I have this, like what's the next decision? You're always being like, okay, so this is what I'm working towards. Like you're trying to you set these micro goals for yourself, which is kind of what gaming's all about. And you reach those goals or you pivot. You go, okay, well I can't reach that goal now, so I gotta immediately pivot. It's constantly engaging. The soundtrack is weirdly like hypnotic. It's one track and it's like the most hypnotic track in gaming right now.
Yep.
The design is just so interesting. You have so many like you're just making choices all the time, and the feedback on those choices is impeccable. Like you know whether you're doing a good job or not.
Yep.
It's a video. It's one of like I have very few perfect video games. Balatro is a perfect video game.
Yeah, it's. I mentioned I've only done lists since 2021. This feels like the first time my game of the year isn't like a hot take. Like Balatro is, in my opinion, respectfully, the best video game that came out this year. And I hoped, fuck Jeff Keighley for a lot of reasons. Like what his awards don't mean a ton. Like it's fun, the whole thing. Balatro should win. And like I really hope it does. I don't think it will. But one thing I'll say when you talk about the challenges, if you're even playing on Black Stake, one thing that I did the challenges after I had like finished Gold Stake. It's basically a white stake run with that. So,
okay.
Like,
yeah, that's good to think about. No, and that's the okay. Can I talk about that for a little bit too?
Yeah, please do.
If you've ever like, if you've ever thought about like, oh, it's time to take the weights off, like playing Balatro, because I stopped playing Balatro for a while. Just because like stuff happens, like you stop playing games. Like that was a big thing this year. I would get way deep into a game and then stop playing it. And Balatro is one of the few that I've gone back to, like on the regular. I get real deep into a game this year and to just drop it like a lead balloon. I don't know, like something new would come out or something would happen in my life, or I just wouldn't want to play games or something like that. And just recently I started going back to Balatro, but there was one time this year where I went back and I was like, okay, I just want to play this game and have like a lot of fun with it. And so what I did is like I just went to White State. I just went to the beginning.
Beat the shit out of White
and
State.
you just like you just like feel like a god among men. You're just like, oh yeah, this is so easy because you see the Matrix in such a fun and interesting way. And it's just like, hey, yeah, this game doesn't have to be like so hard that you're like really like freaking out about it. You can go back to it and just be like, yeah, I just want to play the video game.
Yeah, I just want to have fun and play cards.
Do something fun. Or like, hey, I want to try this weird thing out. The other day, I think because sometimes you'll get to like an end of a run, and when you go into endless, it just gets absurd. And so like I think eventually, like this was a long time ago, but there was just like a Joker that I hadn't bought yet, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna buy this because I know my run's over, but now I can unlock this Joker. And so there's just like all these little things pulling you along, and it's just the design of it's just so incredible. I just can't believe that a game like that. And there's been games out there that try to emulate it and try to I think one of the things is like there's not a battle mechanic. Like you're not fighting against anything. There's no health. There, like you can't. I don't know. Like die is a weird way to put it, but like I don't know if you saw like the blackjack style one that came out, but that's like a battle mechanic. Yeah, and I was like, this it just doesn't seem. I just don't like the mechanic of it, and like I mean, like this is me in a nutshell. Like, video poker is my favorite thing to do at a casino because you just sit there. It's just you against the machine. It's just, and you have some skill and you have some choices to make, and maybe you get lucky. And this is better version of that because you can make your own luck. You feel like you're getting one over on the machine, and it feels really good.
Absolutely. I know Josh and Aaron, you hadn't even talked about it yet. But
Yeah.
one thing I will say, and Ben, I'm curious if you remember this. My greatest run I ever had. I don't remember what deck it was, what stake or anything, but the time Local Thunk truly blessed me with a perfect run. I had all of the money vouchers for increased interest rates. I had the bull to give
Oh
you
yeah.
chips for money.
Uh-huh.
I had bootstraps for malt for money. I had, I think, $800 by the end of it.
Holy cow.
I had blueprint. And early in my run, I had the legendary. I don't know the name of the legendary, but it's the orange one that the times malt goes up for how many cards you discard.
Okay. Yeah.
I got to duplicate that. And I I want to say I also had both vouchers. Is there two vouchers for? Yeah,
Usually there's two
both
vouchers for
to
everything.
do
Yeah.
discards. So I had
Okay.
infinite
Yep.
discards, and so I would max discard. By the
Yep.
end of it, it's the only time I've ever hit E on a score. My discard joker was like times 21, something like that. So I had, say you have $800. Bull for $800 is plus 1,600 chips. Bootstraps $800 is 800 divided by 5. So like math, a lot. Blueprint is copying.
It's like 40. Yeah.
Yeah, times 21 times 21 times 21, which is like 4,000 or 8,000.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
And I was just, I didn't have any planets upgraded. It didn't matter. I just
It didn't matter.
Whatever
One
the
card.
leftmost card was, throw it out
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Throw every card away, max my discards, throw anything out there. And just like quintillions of points. Like just stupid fucking numbers.
Yeah.
Because I was just perfectly blessed. And I was like, this game's awesome. And like I said last thing, there's 150 jokers. All of them can absolutely break a run if you know how to use it, or if you get, some of them are reliant on like one or two other ones, but like it can happen. There isn't a bad joker in that game. It's fucking brilliant.
And one more thing that I'll say is that, like, that got me back into it was actually to let Josh talk about it, was when Josh started to get back into it. I was on, I think, a phone call with him, and he was playing the game, and I had played so much of the game, and I had watched so much of the game, because like a lot of this was like watching NL and like one other streamer on Shorts I would watch play it every now and then, and just like, okay, what jokers do you have? And he would tell me, I'd be like, okay, I can see how this is gonna play out. This is what we're gonna do.
Yep.
And like I could play the game by audio, and that was insane. But it just felt like it felt really good to coach someone through that, and like kind of like, I mean, it felt like teaching, which is what I do for a profession. I was like, okay, so what would you do here? Like, why do you think like this would be a good thing? Like, to get you thinking about that. I think that really like helped a little bit. Josh, you speak on that a little bit, like your actual come to Jesus with this game, because I think that's been one of my favorite moments of the year, honestly, because I was so bummed when you were like, yeah, this game just stresses me out and I don't like it.
Man, I was like, oh, please click. And then it did.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. You guys like Bellator more than I like Astrobot, apparently. Like, holy fuck. I don't even know what else I could add.
I'm not going to fucking
But
lie.
I mean,
played Astrobot. I bet I would love Astrobot. I don't have a PS5.
so yeah, I won't go on too long because I want to respect everybody's time. But if you know me, you know I don't like feeling stupid. This game made me feel really stupid and still does. And I don't play hard games. I don't play puzzle games. I hate math. Math is my least favorite subject in the entire world. I'm bad at it and I hate it. But I got the game literally because I had PlayStation points. I heard everybody talking about it, and I was like, I had 15,000 PlayStation points at one point, and this was 3,000 to get it. I was like, okay, like I'll just get it because everybody's talking about it. Played it for maybe like 1 to 2 hours, and was like, I remember specifically messaging Ben and Alex both, and I was like, I respect how much you guys love this game. I don't think it's for me because it's stressing me out and making me feel stupid, which are two things I hate with anything in life, but especially games, because games are like an escape for me. So that's why when games frustrate me, I have to step away, like, because it's, it takes the joy out of gaming for me. But that's why, Alex, my oh shit moment for the year for your Swirly Awards is when this game clicked for me, when I won my first run. I genuinely will put winning my first Balatro run as like a top 5 like gaming moment for me because I didn't think I was ever gonna get there.
It does feel so hard at first. Like the
It's just
jokers you have
yeah,
aren't that great. Like it genuinely like I played on mobile
yeah.
and it took me with my 300 hours because you start at nothing. It took me a couple runs to actually win one because I'm like, oh, I'm used to getting like blueprint and hologram and like all these other like busted jokers that I don't have unlocked yet. Like
It's
there is a
important to
learning
note
curve.
the location where you played Balatro Mobile for the first time, and that was at a Creed concert that we were at. And so that's another thing which I could say more and more about it. That's another huge testament to this game is that I've put 30 hours into it on PlayStation, probably another 20 on mobile, and then like 5 on Xbox. And I bought the physical edition on Xbox to get the physical cards. Um, First game I've played on multi-platform since Vampire Survivors. Yeah, I don't know what I can't add anything else that Alex and Ben haven't already said, but once I
Aaron, you
got
got
that,
anything?
yeah,
Yeah, let's do it. For me, as someone who loves math, it was my number one game that I just kept deleting over and over and over again throughout the year. Because had I not, I think that I would have probably
Lost
put
everything.
300 hours into that game.
Yeah.
The first time I ever played it, I think, well, I had bought it, I played it a little bit, and then just got busy. I think I was playing Final Fantasy maybe at that point, and then Ben came over, and I was just watching him play it, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "This is great." And I even remember asking Ben, I was like, "Ben, if you just started a run, do you think you could just win?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," and
Dude,
just
yes.
got to the point where I just like was so invested in just the way, like the mechanics and the way that like you could just manipulate things. And I was just really smitten with it. And again, to the point where like I played it on PlayStation and I just had to get it off home screen because if it was on my home screen and I turned my PlayStation on, I would just go to it and I would play it. It didn't matter what I was playing, I would just do it. And then it came out for phones, and I literally
Oh my
probably
gosh.
downloaded and deleted that game 5 different times because I just kept losing time to it. I just like kept playing it, and I was like, I gotta stop this, or else I'm not gonna ever stop. Uh, Really, really phenomenal game though. Just everything about it. Again, it probably would have been my number one had I not just like kept kind of kneecapping myself with it.
Been
Where I was like,
afraid
I
of
can't
it.
play this anymore.
Just embrace.
I
Join
gotta,
us.
I gotta stop.
It's your Green Goblin mask.
Right. This game is like my favorite like water cooler game because I got my best friend Grayson moved back home from Chicago, so he's back in town. Me and him have been going back and forth. He actually beat me to getting all the gold stakes. And what you talked about, Ben, taking the weights off. He's like, I won 9 white stakes in a row, like no reset, nothing. I was like, fuck, that rules. It's so fun, and just like we would just send each other pictures of ante 9. Here's what I've got, and I was like, oh,
Here's my jokers.
Here's my jokers. I started going straights because I had shortcut, but then I got holograms, so I was like, all right, fuck that. Dump a bunch, just add every card I can get. Like, oh man, and every run's different. Every win I've had, I haven't done the exact same thing twice ever.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
so yeah, I don't think I have anything else further to say. I mean, another huge testament to it for me is like there's no cross progression between the platforms,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the first time I don't think I've ever minded like starting over on a game.
Yeah.
Like even though it's like frustrating in those early stages, like I've still managed to win just as many runs on mobile now as I've won on PlayStation. Like maybe one more on PlayStation. Like I think I've won like 11 runs now, which to me, you guys know when I started this game out, the fact that I've won 11 runs is fucking insane to me.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Like
That's a lot.
I'm in a winning rut now, which is what I accidentally started talking about too much earlier.
Oh yeah.
I'm in a rut now with that game. It's unfortunate for me where I haven't won in like the last like 15 runs that I've played, and that was a big thing for me too. Is not only feeling intimidated by the game, but then feeling like I was being fucked by the RNG at every turn. And you guys witnessed that bad luck on Extra Life when I won 2 of those runs with like some of the worst RNG you've ever seen. And
I thought we were
it's
gonna
just
walk through that one.
I just in general I feel like one of the unluckiest people in the world sometimes. I know that that's like some extreme main character syndrome shit and I do struggle with that, but that's how I feel when I play these games. I feel like if something bad can go wrong, it's going to happen to me, and that's been happening to me with Balatro for like the last like 5 hours that I've played it total. But it's a huge testament like how far I've come with it. Like if it wasn't as well made of a game as it is and if you guys hadn't pushed me towards it, I don't think it would have ended up in my top 5 and I don't think I'd still be playing it.
I'm so happy it's your. You said it was 4.
4,
Right? I'm
yeah.
so happy for that.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it.
Yeah,
Like,
it
I'm
wouldn't have
really
been
glad you turned
it wouldn't have
around
been on my
because,
list at all. Like if I had stopped playing it after a couple hours. I mean, honestly, like I think I would have gotten it eventually on sale, but like shout out to fucking PlayStation points or coins or whatever for like you can just buy whole games with them. Like it rewards you
yeah.
for buying games on PlayStation. Like you just turn your games you've bought into more games or like currencies or whatever. So like, you have to shout that out because that's what got me to buy the game. I wasn't gonna spend like how much is it, like $20 game or something?
Yeah.
I think it's like 15 or I did the
15 or
math. 'Cause
20,
I bought
something
it
like that.
for I bought it for $13 and I put 300 hours into it. I've basically got a nickel an hour out of that game.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
I mean,
It's the best value I've ever had in a single game.
I
so
felt
far.
really good about paying the $30 for the physical edition because I didn't pay any money
I
for it
want
up
it really
until
bad.
then. Like I went back actually and I bought the $10 mobile version because I'm going to be canceling Apple Arcade soon because I need to stop playing NFL Retro Bowl. That's the only game that I'm playing on Apple Arcade, and so it's like I had to think to myself the other day, is it really worth like the $6.99 a month just to play NFL Retro Bowl on my phone? I'm like, no. So I bought the full mobile version of Blatro, and then I bought I can't even fucking get the name straight on which one it is.
Blatro, Baltro, I've gone back and forth so many times.
Gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a shit? But
like, I don't know, whatever you want it to be.
but anyway, yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. Amazing
I have
year.
one question.
Yeah.
Very briefly.
Yeah.
If any of you could play one game that at least right now has a 2025 date on it, what's everybody's most anticipated?
Oh, like anticipated game?
GTA 6 for me, I think.
Yeah.
That's up there for sure.
That's probably my
Oh,
boring
that's not
answer.
coming out in 2025.
I agree. That's my hot take. That shit's getting delayed.
It wouldn't surprise me
Oh,
at all.
definitely.
I'm hopeful that it's going to come out in like winter 2025, but I can't keep doing that copium to myself.
They're gonna make so much fucking money when they release that.
Whenever you put together that list, Alex, for the Swirly Awards, and we type down all of our anticipated games, like at least from that list, unless I'm forgetting something, that one beats all the other games in that list by like a fucking mile. And then weirdly enough, that Power Rangers game comes out like on Tuesday, and I'm weirdly excited for that game too because it looks really cool, like a side-scrolling beat 'em up. Like two of my favorite games ever were on the Sega Genesis, like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers games, the side-scrolling beat 'em ups. Like this looks like another one of those. I'm really excited for that.
Mine, go ahead, Aaron.
Oh no, I'll keep mine really quick. Mine is Death Stranding 2, and that is coming from someone who has not played any Death Stranding. Yeah, 100%. I love hearing people talk about Death Stranding so much, but like I will never play that game.
This is wild to hear.
Yeah.
I feel like I've never heard this take from you.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as like Metal Gear. Like I honestly like love hearing people talk about Metal Gear Solid and like just how insane that series is. But I doubt I'll ever play it.
I have never played one either. Yeah.
Metal Gear 5 is a fucking amazing game.
Yeah.
No, and I'm sure it is. I don't think I'll ever play any of them, but man, I love hearing people talk about them. They sound so interesting and like.
Yeah, Death Stranding's a throwback for me and Ben. I think that was last year, wasn't it? That you and I both played a little bit of Death Stranding, wasn't it, Ben? I think you played a lot more than I did, but I fell off of it. It's just clunky in a way that I can't get behind. I kept dropping shit and breaking shit, and I didn't like the fighting the monsters and stuff. Like, I don't like a game that makes you feel helpless when you're fighting monsters and shit. Like, in that game, I never felt like I was equipped to fight anything.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah.
Expedition 33.
Bro, that's what I was about to That's the whole point of what my question was.
Fun.
I'm so fucking hyped for that game. Like,
that game looks good.
It looks so unique and interesting, and the story behind it is just fucking bananas. And the voice acting, they have an amazing cast. They got fucking Daredevil in there. They got my boy Ben Starr. I don't remember her name, but Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3 is in it. Fucking Andy Serkis is in this game. It looks so unique, and it was just sometimes you just watch a first trailer, and it just hits like my brain where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be obsessed with this game.
I remember you freaking out whenever they revealed that trailer last year.
I've watched that trailer probably like 4 or 5 times at this point.
Aaron, I cannot wait for that game to come out. I think they've said spring.
Yeah.
So
I think that's where it's at right now too.
Yeah, it's my front runner of what I think might be my game of the year next year. So hopefully it lives up to it.
I don't know if it's my most. I'm looking at this GameSpot list. There was one on here that I'm really interested in, but I just saw Doom: The Dark Ages.
Oh yeah.
I loved Doom 2016, and I really liked Doom Eternal. And so yeah, another
Is this
Doom
the
game.
medieval Doom?
Yeah.
I thought that hadn't came out yet. That looks incredible. Oh my god,
Yeah,
Gears of War also next year? Holy fuck.
Borderlands 4.
yeah, that's crazy. The other one I was thinking of is Pirate. What is it called? Like a Dragon Pirate
Oh
Yakuza in
yeah.
Hawaii or
Yeah.
something like that. That looks nuts.
How many studios are making those games? Because
One
every year,
is one.
how the fuck are they doing this? Every
It's
year, there's
RGG.
there's a 100-hour game.
So here's
Next
why,
year.
right? And like they've talked about this in interviews, and I love it. It's because they're going to use Hawaii again. Like most of it's going to be
That's
set
awesome.
in the same city.
Reuse those
Yeah.
assets.
And they reuse like for all the other Yakuza games, like most of the like originals, it's all set in the same city. So all they have to do is tweak it a little bit and use
That's
a lot
so
of the same
smart.
assets. Like they create a movie set that they reuse. And so yeah.
Cool.
I was
Next year,
interested in playing that until I saw that it was the combat of the original Yakuza games, and that was the
That's
only
why I'm
reason.
excited about it, actually.
Yeah, whenever I played, what the fuck, Like a Dragon, yeah, Like a Dragon from this year, the turn-based combat's what got me in the front door on that one, and I'm glad I played it and can't wait to play more of it. Real quick, I'm gonna end, Alex. The other games that we put on this list: Pokemon Legends Z to A for next year. Dune Awakening, which I immediately lost interest once they revealed that was only coming to PC at first, but I will undeniably play that when it comes to consoles. And then the one that I put on there, which I don't know if you guys will remember this one, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, which is like the Life is Strange people's like next big game, like original like IP that they're putting out for the first time. It's not a Life is Strange game. Yeah. So I'm really excited for that one. But
baby steps.
Could be a great year.
Are you just saying that, Ben, or is that the name of a game?
Baby steps. It's the new game for Ben and
Baby.
it's where you're like the big dude in a onesie.
Did Harvey take his first steps and I missed something?
I know exactly what we're talking about, Ben. Don't listen to these clowns. We know real art. I know what you're talking about. It looks
we know real art. A game called
Aaron's
Baby Steps.
He's gonna love it. He's gonna watch every Instagram reel of it and be like, "Oh my god!"
Trailer, you're playing this game.
I think I kind of remember what you're talking about. I'd have to watch a video to jog my memory.
It looks so funny.
All right, fellas. Well, this is probably the shortest ANG cast we've ever made. It less than 2.5. Yeah, so less than 2.5 hours this time. Thank you, Alex, Ben, and Aaron. I love you guys. I love doing this with you every year. Another great year for games. Not quite on the level of 2023 for me, but still, like, it gave me Astrobot and Silent Hill 2 at the very least. Like, it's going to go down as like two of my favorite games ever. So can't complain too much. I think next year's going to be great. Even if we don't get GTA 6, there's going to be a lot of bangers. And I was talking to Alex about this recently too. Like, think about all the games that like we played this year that ended up high on our list that like we hadn't even heard of, or like we never considered playing. Every year there's always a handful, especially the indie games. It's like you don't know that you're going to like it until it comes out. Like at Ballacher, like what the fuck? Like number 4 on my list. Like
Min-Max play it.
Yeah. Like, they actually just put out a video and podcast of like I don't know how many games it was like 40 under the radar indie games of this year or something. It's like I'm scared to listen to that because I don't want to go like hear more games to play right now. But all right, well, as a plug here, I don't know how many people actually listen to this podcast, but shout out to you if you're listening. What's the date, Alex? We're doing the Swirly Awards. It's the 28th.
It'll be
Saturday the 28th, I think.
Friday is, I believe.
No, Saturday. Yeah, because Friday I'll be in Columbus. Saturday the 28th is when we're doing.
Correct. Saturday the 28th.
Yep.
We'll just say
you're getting doxing yourself, Josh. People are gonna know your location.
Yeah.
Fuck them. No, yeah. So yeah, Swirly Awards will be a live stream. We did it last year, and we're doing it again this year. Follow us on social media. Swirly Games? That's Swirly Games on Twitter and X or whatever. Are you on X or not? You're on X and then Blue Sky. I don't know.
Sky, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's where we really don't post. Definitely don't post to Facebook anymore. We're kind of active on Instagram for ANG, but yeah, follow us on X or on Blue Sky to stay up to date. We're not nearly as active here on ANG as I'd like to be, but yeah, here in a couple weeks, I'll be over on Swirly's channel. We'll be giving out some cool awards. If you're into Balatro/Balatro, we're having a whole category on what is the best Joker in the game. That is a tease.
150 Jokers.
I took the time to this is okay. So real quick, another huge testament to that game. I could have copy and pasted a list of that game. I took the time to manually type them all out so I could learn more about them and then jog my memory. Like when have I ever said I've done that? Like for anything, I haven't. Is the answer. So and then we have best dump game, best game to play on your phone while you're taking a shit. We have that
yeah.
award coming out. So yeah, Swirly Awards on December 28th. Be sure to stop by, and it'll be archived too, won't it, on your YouTube channel?
I throw it up on the Swirly Plays YouTube as
Yep.
well.
So that's what we got coming up next. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, fellas, for recording another one of these with me. And
Absolutely.
looking
Genuinely,
forward.
Josh, this is like my favorite time of year is getting to talk
Oh hell yeah, dude! That
games
makes
and nerd
me
out with you more.
super
I really
happy. Yeah.
appreciate it.
Well, there's just so much fucking negativity out there that it's nice to sit down with friends and just be super positive about the things that we love for a couple hours. Like, it's
Absolutely.
such a simple little thing, but I definitely look forward to it every year as well. So again, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Alex. Looking forward to Game of the Year 2025 in a year from now. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, dude.
And we'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.
Dun 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 dun
Dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun dun
Ben, you
dun
want to
dun
answer it?
dun 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 dun